call the order of the regular meeting of the Dickinson City Commission for Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. Let the record show we're missing one commissioner, Commissioner Oderman. First item this evening is the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you all for attending this evening. We'll move into the order of business. Mr. Dossinger, are there any amendments to the order of business?
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the Commission. There is no change to the order of business this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Dossinger. Any questions on the order of business as presented, Commissioners?
Mr. President, move to approve.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion on the order of business? Hearing none, all in favor of the order of business as presented, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is the consent agenda. Commissioners, are there any items on the consent agenda that you wish to discuss?
Mr. President, I move to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Bear,
Second.
second by Commissioner Riddle. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing no discussion or further questions on the consent agenda, we'll go ahead and vote. Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Mr. Riddle?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. We'll move into Administration and Finance. First item this evening is Water Reclamation Supervisor job description. This will be presented by HR Director Nominuk. Welcome.
Thank you, President Decker and Commissioners. The Water Reclamation Facility Supervisor position is a new position. It was approved with our 2025 budget. This position, the job description was pretty much mirrors the other supervisor positions that we have in Public Works in a lot of different ways. Some of the responsibilities for this position is that it will oversee monitoring, maintenance, and repair of the facility, vehicles, tools, machinery, and equipment, maintains all data related to the operation and maintenance of the water reclamation facility, maintains inventories of supplies and materials, and solves complex issues under the direction of the utilities manager. This position will also supervise all the water reclamation facility personnel in the daily operations and the maintenance tasks and duties. Some of the requirements for the position for education, it does require an associate's degree, 3 years of directly related experience, and or equivalent combination of the education experience that would lead to successful performance of this job. The position does fall in a grade 17 and it is non-exempt. This position, as I mentioned, is a new position for the water reclamation facility position. We had a water reclamation facility foreman that we will not be filling at this time, so this position will take over for that position. And city staff is recommending approval of the job description.
Thank you, Mrs. Dominic.
Along with that, the Public Works Director Prouse is requesting the approval to fill this position for the rest of this year in 2024 due to that foreman position being vacated and eliminated. So two things that we're looking for approval for.
Okay, if we grant permission to, you'll begin the process of advertising then?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions or comments on filling position in November, or at least advertising starting now in November to try to fill it as soon as possible?
So if we do fill it early, how do we adjust? Where does the budget come from?
The budget will be neutral because of one of their employees moved over into a different position to a different fund when Jacob moved over to deputy. So his funding is still there for the rest of the year also. So looking at that, it's going to be budget neutral.
Okay,
if they start this year.
all right, thank you.
Any other questions on the water rec supervisor job? So I'd look first for the approval of the job description, and then we'll look for the approval to fill.
I would move to approve the job description.
Motion to approve job description by Commissioner Frederick,
Second.
second by Commissioner Riddle. Any further discussion? Questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Mr. Riddle?
Aye.
Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Now seek a motion to give the permission to Public Works Director Prouse to begin the search for that, the person to fill this position.
Mr. President, move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Riddle,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Riddle?
Aye.
Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda this evening, we'll have an update on the recall petition, and this will be presented by City Administrator Dossinger and City Attorney Wenko.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the commission. A recall petition was submitted to the Secretary of State for the recall of Mayor Scott Decker, Commissioner John Oderman, and Commissioner Jason Frederick. The recall petition was reviewed and approved as to form only by the Secretary of State for circulation. After the Secretary of State approved the petition for circulation, the recall petition must be submitted within 90 days to the appropriate filing officer, which is me. The deadline was met as the petitions were submitted on Wednesday, October 30th at 3:35 p.m. by the Recall Committee Chairman, Seth Helgeson. Ms. Carlson, could you help me out? It looks like you got
Technical, there we go. Oh,
I jumped.
now it moved again.
there you go.
As you all are aware, through this process, the legal question of whether the Home Rule City may use its Home Rule status to modify the recall requirements that are set forth in the Century Code has arisen. My office did request a formal opinion from the Attorney General's office asking the following question: whether the recall of an elected official, which is constitutionally grounded right of the people enumerated in Century Code 4408-21, is a right which can appropriately be modifiable under a city's home rule charter powers. While the Century Code 4005-06.1 subsection 7 specifically mentions the selection of officers, it does not mention the recall of the same. When we initially received the recall petition, we did request immediate guidance from the North Dakota Attorney General's office. For your, for the public, a copy of the official request is included in the PowerPoint. We requested that
Mrs. Wenko, could you pull the mic a little bit closer? They're having
bet.
trouble hearing you.
You bet. That opinion was requested in or after I had multiple communications with the Attorney General's office regarding the applicability of the Home Rule Charter. Today, at approximately 11 o'clock, we received the formal opinion from the North Dakota Attorney General's office. If you recall, at the last commission meeting, we did receive, or an individual had stood at the podium and indicated that there were no documents of record between my office and the Attorney General's office requesting this opinion related to the recall petition. At that time, I was confused as to why that document was issued. I did receive an email from the North Dakota Attorney General's office last Wednesday. I will just recite that email for the commission's awareness, as well as the city staff, as well as the public. Ms. Wenko, it has come to my attention that a document from our office was discussed at the Dickinson City Commission meeting on October 15th. Unfortunately, our process for issuing open records responses was not followed before that document was provided to an open records requester. Please accept my apologies for the error and the confusion it created. My office has indeed received your opinion request, and we are working on the opinion. If you would like me to call the Dickinson mayor to clarify any of the issues, I would be happy to do so. In the meantime, our staff is working to ensure the records requester receives a full and accurate response tonight, or if necessary, to ensure the response is complete tomorrow morning. As that email indicated, my office did request and we did receive the formal opinion from the Attorney General's office. For the public, a copy of that opinion is identified in the PowerPoint. I will not go through and read the entire opinion, but I will highlight the important points from the Attorney General. Thank you for requesting, a letter requesting my opinion on whether a home rule charter city may modify the elected official recall process enumerated in North Dakota Century Code 4408-21. Because the strict rule of strict construction applies in defining municipal powers, and any doubt as to the existence of municipal powers must be resolved against the municipality. It is my opinion that North Dakota Century Code 40-05.1-06 does not grant home rule charter cities the power to devise a process for the recall of city officials separate from what is provided in North Dakota Century Code 4408-21. The Attorney General goes on to clarify and expand and states, Section 4005.106, subsection 7 of the North Dakota Century Code broadly gives home rule charter cities authority over the selection, terms, powers, duties, qualifications, and compensation of city officers, agencies, and employees. This provision, however, does not expressly address or authorize the adoption of a method of recall of elected city officers contrary to what is provided by state law. As it relates to the existing petition, the city had made it very clear from the outset of this process that the city was going to follow the North Dakota Century Code. As a result of this opinion, we can say that the issue with regard to the applicability of the home rule charter has been resolved, and we are of the opinion that that question has been settled. The North Dakota Century Code requires that a recall petition must contain 25% of the number of votes cast in the election in which that elected official was elected. The North Dakota Century Code, unlike the Home Rule Charter, also provides specific deadlines and details that must be met as part of the recall process. I will turn it back over to Mr. Dossinger.
Thank you, Attorney Wanko. There are a number of email exchanges between Petition Committee Chairman Helgeson, Bobby Joe Helgeson, and I regarding the number of petition signatures needed based on a decision from the Attorney General's office. Mr. Helgeson was also informed in emails from City Attorney Wankel and I that the city would follow the Century Code moving forward, pending the outcome of a formal opinion from the Attorney General's office regarding the applicability of the Home Rule Charter. On the screen is a screenshot of an email I sent to Seth Helgeson on September 10th. In that email, it explains that 724 signatures are needed for Mayor Decker and Commissioner Oderman, and 424 signatures are needed for Commissioner Frederick. The next screenshot is a screenshot of an email I sent to Bobby Joe Helgeson on October 15th, indicating the same information to her. For Mayor Decker and Commissioner Oderman, there were 2,899 votes cast in the 2024 primary election. For Commissioner Frederick, there were 1,697 votes cast in the 2022 primary election. Number of votes cast in the 2022 primary and the 2024 primary elections were obtained from the Stark County Auditor Karen Richard and emails from August 7th and August 8th of 2024. On the screen is a screenshot of an email from Stark County Auditor Karen Richard on August 7th, indicating there were 2,899 City of Dickinson voters in the 2024 primary election and 1,697 City of Dickinson voters in the 2022 primary election. On the screen is a screenshot of an August 8th email from County Auditor Richard indicating the same information to us. 25% is needed per North Dakota Century Code. Mayor Decker and Commissioner Oderman would need 724 signatures. Commissioner Frederick, 424 signatures are needed. On Wednesday, October 30th, the recall petitions were submitted to Deputy City Administrator Linda Carlson and Administrative Assistant to the City Administrator Rita Binstock. Copies of the submitted petitions were immediately made and given to the Recall Committee Chairman Seth Helgeson. Recall petition signatures for Mayor Decker. There were a total of 616 signatures submitted. 10 of those lacked elector information not complete. 10 of those were outside city limits. 48 of those were duplicate, and one of them was removed by the petitioner, which was initialed. Preliminary total of qualified signatures are 547. 724 were needed. As you can see, before deductions were met, 616 still never met the 724 required. I also want to note that this was underneath a preliminary review. These numbers are not finalized. For Commissioner Oderman, there are a total of 553 signatures submitted. 17 of those lacked elector information that was not completely filled out. 10 of those were outside city limits. 4 of those were duplicates, and 2 removed by the petitioners, for a total of 520 preliminary total of qualified signatures. Again, 724 were needed. For Commissioner Frederick, there are a total of 505 signatures submitted. 15 lacked elector information, not complete. 9 of those were outside city limits. 1 was a duplicate, and 2 were removed by the petitioner. Preliminary total of qualified signatures is 505. 424 was needed.
Mr., it started at 505. Wasn't that deducted off? Go back.
Oh, I'm
Says-
sorry. Yes. Math there, sorry. Typo. Signature determined to be invalid will not be counted, and all violations of law will be reported to the proper authority for prosecution. After a recall petition has been submitted to the filing officer for review, the petitions are considered filed and may not be returned to the chairman of the sponsored committee for the purpose of continuing the circulation process or resubmitting the petitions at a later time. A signer's name may not be removed from the petition once the petition has been submitted to and received by the appropriate filing officer. Upon receipt of a petition with the required number of signatures, the official with whom the petition is filed has up to 30 days to review the signatures. The deadline pursuant to North Dakota Century Code is November 29th of 2024 for me to totally review the signatures on the petitions. The filing officer finds the petition valid and sufficient. The filing officer shall call a special election. The name of the official to be recalled shall automatically be placed on the ballot unless the official resigns within 10 days after filing. The officer certifies that the petition is valid and sufficient. Other candidates for the office may be nominated in a manner provided by law and shall file nominating papers with the appropriate filing officer by the 64th day before the scheduled recall election. A notice of the recall election must be posted in the official newspaper 30 days before the candidate filing deadline. The notice must include the necessary information for a candidate to file and have the candidate's name included on the ballot. When the election results have been officially declared, the candidate receiving the highest number of votes shall be deemed elected for the remainder of that term. No official shall be subject to a recall more than once during the term for which that official was elected. Recall elections of political subdivision officials must be held not sooner than 95 days nor later than 105 days following the date the filing officer certifies the petition valid and sufficient. A formal determination of the validity and sufficiency on the recall petition will be made by the end of this week. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Dossinger. Mrs. Winko, any questions?
Well, maybe just for the public, we should do the right math on mine quick.
Sorry about that typo.
Yep.
Commissioners, I do have that. The preliminary total would be 478.
Thank you.
You still met the criteria for the 25%. on the preliminaries.
And you'll have the official by the end of the week?
The goal is to have it done by the end of the week.
Okay. Thank you. Any other, anything else, commissioners? Thank you, city staff, for working through this. I know this has taken up a lot of your time, and I appreciate all the hard work. Making sure that getting the numbers accurate and getting all the information. And Mrs. Winko?
Mr. President, I do want to say one thing. I do want to say that I'm extremely grateful to the Attorney General's office in getting us as timely as they possibly could. I do know that they had multiple other opinions ahead of ours, and like I said, I'm truly grateful that they were able to give us this guidance and answer this question for us, and put this, well, just give us an answer at that point. So thank you again to the Attorney General's office for their work on this as well.
Again, thank you guys for all your hard work and doing the due diligence needed to get us through this recall petition. So, anything else, commissioners? All right, we'll move into Public Works. We have a Southwest Water Land Lease Agreement. This will be presented by Public Works Director Prouse.
Good evening, President Decker and Commissioners. Before you tonight to present a land lease agreement between the North Dakota State Water Commission and the City of Dickinson. As you are aware, Southwest Water Treatment Facility is looking to expand their facility starting January 1 of 2025 and completion by December 31st of 2027. They had requested to lease 2 parcels of land from the City of Dickinson, which were a part of your packet. They are the southwest portion of our buildings and grounds facility on West Broadway, which is we use for trailer storage currently. And then the area to the north of West Broadway, which is commonly referred to as the city snow dump site. The city snow dump site was only available to them for use from May 1st through September 30th. And the rent of the property was agreed upon to be $15,000 per year, and any unused amount paid back to them at the completion of their project on a monthly basis. Along with the agreement, the tenant has agreed to install a gate for a property access point between the 2 buildings on West Broadway, in which their construction traffic will be directed. Upon the completion of the project, the gate will remain intact and become property of the City of Dickinson. Attorney Winko has reviewed this agreement, and city staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. Prouse. Any questions on this agreement with Southwest Water? Now I look for a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Bear,
Second.
second by Commissioner Riddle. Any further discussion? Questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. Dr. Bear,
Aye.
Mr. Riddle.
Aye.
Mr. Frederick.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Mr. Prouse, you have a Heinen Sewer connection contract.
Yes, before you tonight to present a amendment to the current contract dated October 7th, 2020 with Andrew and Keena Heinen in the City of Dickinson. This is to allow them to add a 6-inch private sewer main to our infrastructure to service their property, which is in our ETZ zone. They are allowed to connect multiple structures to the city's wastewater infrastructure at the location determined by the city. A connection fee will be paid for each structure connected, along with the base and usage charge as determined by our city's annual fee schedule. This amendment includes testing requirements as needed to determine the applicable surcharges required to treat any sewage that they put into our system. Attorney Winko has reviewed this amendment as well, and Public Works staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. Prouse. Any questions on this connection contract? There are no questions or comments. I'd look for a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Frederick,
Second.
second by Commissioner Riddle. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Mr. Riddle?
Aye.
Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Public Safety and Fire. We have the Medical Director approval. This will be presented by Fire Chief Presnell.
Thank you, President Decker and Commissioners. I'm before you tonight requesting approval for a medical director agreement between the fire department and Dr. David Kyland. Essentially, what the medical director does is helps with the review and development of protocols for treatment, patient care QCing. So as we treat a patient, he'll look at reports and make sure they are done correctly, and then also training and skills verification. We do currently have a medical director. Dr. Kyland is a ER doc, so it would be very beneficial for him in the very beginning to help assist with that transition as we bring on the ambulance. The contract has been reviewed by Attorney Wenko, and staff does recommend approval.
Thank you, Chief Presnell. Any questions, Commissioners, for Chief Presnell on the Medical Director position, the approval? If there are no questions, then I'd look for a motion.
Mr. President, move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Riddle,
Second?
second by Commissioner Frederick. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Riddle,
Aye.
Mr. Frederick.
Aye.
Dr. Bear.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Chief Presnell, you have a bill for us.
Well, not quite a bill, but thank you, President Decker and Commissioners. I'm before you again tonight asking for approval to purchase ambulances. We're looking at purchasing 2 Type 1 ambulances. They did come in a little higher than what we budgeted, but we also budgeted $200,000 per ambulance for equipment, and we are getting some equipment on this. But one of the biggest increases or overages on what we actually initially budgeted for this is the extreme cold weather package. But we would be looking at purchasing 2 Ford F-550s, 4x4. They would have an O2 lift, which those are several $1,000s that get put in. The medical lockbox, which would work with our prox cards. So all the meds, the narcotics would require prox access, and it would notify us. And also keep a inventory of what's taken and what's been put back in. And then also installing a fridge so we don't have to constantly pull drugs out that require refrigeration, that they can stay in the ambulance ready to go. And with that, we do recommend approval for us to purchase these 2 ambulances.
Thank you, Chief Presnell. What is the expected delivery date?
If we get the approval tonight, we would be looking at an August-September delivery for both ambulances. So shortly after we go live with EMS, we should be receiving the 2 ambulances. Going with McQueen was the earliest delivery date we could get. All the other companies had early 2026 delivery dates or towards the end of 2025.
So do we do an RFP on this?
We didn't. We are using the group purchasing through Sourcewell. It's already gone out to bid through Sourcewell. Can you help me with that, Linda, on how Sourcewell works?
With this dollar amount, don't we have to request proposals?
Oh, I will speak. On that, this is a sole source. There is specific ambulance, but he already looked at the Queen and the other ones, and we were looking at what we can get as soon as we can. And so that's why this was more of a sole source, but this is a state bid type thing.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I should have said that. With the group purchasing, it's essentially all bid out, just like the state bid is, and then they pass that on to
Gotcha.
to everybody. So
Okay.
a lot of the equipment we're actually going to move forward and purchase as we go through this process, we will do through Sourcewell, which we are members of, and be able to go through group purchasing. So best price is already produced. They do allow, like specifically with the ambulances, some minor modifications, like the ability to add that extreme cold weather package because it's obviously a little chilly in North Dakota.
So Chief, with this purchase, how many ambulances will we then have in the fleet altogether?
In the fleet, without getting rid of anything, this would put us at 6 ambulances. The intention is also to get rid of the 2 oldest ambulances, pass them on to one of the smaller ambulance services, maybe in the county or somewhere close to us, or either put them out to auction.
Okay, so that was my second question. This would be to swap out 2 of the older ambulances and replace them?
That's affirmative, Commissioner
Okay.
Dare.
Okay.
Chief, what is the life expectancy of an ambulance?
So we're hoping to get about 3 years out of them, and then we would look at what they call a remount, where we take the box off, add it onto a new chassis. So a lot less expensive, but we're looking at about a 3-year replacement. We will be putting together a very comprehensive replacement plan and watch that very closely as we put mileage on and stuff like that.
I'd imagine they're diesel.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There was a lot of debate on whether we should go with a diesel or gasoline. Obviously, better gas mileage with a diesel. There are some issues there with the DEF and getting them out on the interstate and running them.
Well, you get a lot more mileage out of a
Yeah, correct.
mileage out of a diesel engine, but so they might last a little longer.
Hopefully.
So, okay.
All right, any further questions or comments? Not, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Bear,
Second.
second by Commissioner Riddle. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. Dr. Bear,
Aye.
Mr. Riddle,
Aye.
Mr. Frederick,
Aye.
chair votes aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioner.
It is 5 o'clock, so we do go to the public hearing and public comments. I know we just missed out back there. They wanted to get their report in, but we got to go to the 5 o'clock. So the first item up this evening, I am honored to be swearing in our Dickinson Youth Commission, and I would like the Youth Commission to approach the podium.
Here. Yeah.
Well, we're going to do the swearing in first, and then we're going to let you introduce yourself to the community. So, if you would, please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Delcia Contreras,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of North Dakota,
the Constitution of the State of North Dakota,
uphold the Home Charter
uphold the Home Charter
and Municipal Code of the City of Dickinson
and Municipal Code of the City of Dickinson
of North Dakota,
of North Dakota,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the Youth Commission in the City of Dickinson,
of the Youth Commission in the City of Dickinson,
Stark County, North Dakota,
Stark County, North Dakota,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Welcome aboard. Congratulations. sign it also then.
There you go. Should we wait for all of them to get to read it?
You want them right to notarize it? Yeah. All right. Since you will get these back to you. All right, well, who wants to begin? Who's the brave one?
Should we just turn around and say her name?
Yeah, you just speak into the mic. Most people, you can turn around if you want.
This is my second year.
Of course, no, it's
Like
your
this.
graduation.
That's what we did last year. You just say my name.
Go ahead.
Well, introduce yourself a little, like what grade you're in, what school you go to, and how many years you've been in.
I'm Beth Dowitz. I'm a senior at Trinity High School, and this will be my second year on Youth Commission.
All right.
I'm Dilcia Contreras. This is my senior year at DHS, and this is also my second year on Youth Commission.
I'm Sophia Contreras. This is my freshman year at DHS, and this is my first year at Youth Commission.
I'm Ariel Hecker. I go to DHS and I'm a senior, and this is my second year on Youth Commission.
Hi, my name's Amethyst Brand. I'm a senior at DHS, and this is my first year on Youth Commission.
Well, welcome aboard. We're happy to have all you here, and we're looking forward to good things. I know you guys are working on some projects already. Anything you can tell us about?
Not right
yet?
now.
Not right now? All right. I know you guys organize a lot of great things. It was a big hit last year. You had a skating event at the ice rink, and that went over pretty well. So, like I said, we're looking forward to everything you're going to bring forward to us at the City Commission. So, congratulations, and thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Our next item up, we'll have the public hearing of the 2025 road improvement project, SID 202501-1. This will be presented by Engineer and Community Development Director Skolazichek.
Good evening, Mr. President, Commissioners. For your consideration is a resolution determining the protest for the 2025 Road Maintenance Project Special Improvement District 2025-01-1. The district was established at the September 17th, 2024 City Commission meeting with the approval of this board for Resolution 38-2024. Protest period for the project, as required by North Dakota Century Code, ended on October 25th, 2024. Total number of overall percentage for the protests are provided in the staff memo. The protest did not meet the statutory requirements to bar the city from proceeding with the special improvement project. 45% of the total area was included within the protests, and we did have 115 total individual protests. To touch on some of the benefits for the project, streets, curb and gutter, sidewalk are in need of repair throughout the area. Several of the sidewalks do not have ADA compliance, and the ADA compliance aspects of the sidewalks from the perspective of the pedestrian ramps, those are paid for 100% by the city of Dickinson. These improvements will ensure safe pedestrian walkability and access throughout the neighborhood, and the street improvements will extend the life expectancy of the roadway and reduce maintenance costs for the city. Let's see, the total construction estimate for this overall project is $7.62 million, and the specific special improvement district total assessments for all properties within the special improvement district is $1,910,680.10 as per the engineering report that's attached within this packet. as per the resolution that was passed to move forward with this special improvement district, this is to be included on the property taxes and paid back over a 10-year period, an interest rate of 5.4%. Those who pay the assessments in full by October 1st, 2026 will not be charged interest or penalties. And ultimately, this resolution, if it approved by the City Commission, staff will proceed with finalizing the project plan specifications and move to get the project out to bid. Engineering staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. Skolaszczyk. Any questions, commissioners? Comments? There are no questions right now from the commission. This is the public hearing section, so any individuals that wish to come forward and speak to the 2025 road improvement project, please come forward, state your name.
Hi, my name's Joel Gregg. I live at 809 Schnagel Drive. A couple years ago, my house flooded from inadequate drain pipes from my home. We have just recovered from that. And this with the new school tax bond that's coming into a thing is it increased my taxes from $350 to $990. It's made my home unaffordable. It's literally pushed me out of my home. Now we're gonna add another sidewalk tax upon that $2,080 that I'm paying, and it's crippling me. I'm great. We may live on one of the roughest roads in Schenango, and it's like I'm not sure why we can't do a road or a drain pipe. I had 4 feet of water in my house during that flood. Nothing happened. I mean, if this is money going to a drain, hey, let's go for it. My sidewalks are slightly damaged. They have a few cracks. I agree. But our home is we're literally being pushed out. And you guys are gonna do what you're gonna do. I understand, but we're hurting. Thanks.
Sir, did you have the opportunity to meet with city staff? Have you contacted them?
Yes, I have.
To review your sidewalk?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and the gutter?
I came and visited with them, and we had conversations with the gutter, the drainage, and basically, I'm going to do an estimate. There's probably about 60 homes of water that funnels to my house and then we have a 6-inch pipe to carry all them homes, which is just when, like this rain right now, it'll carry it. But if we get a flash flood, we are literally it's coming over my basement wall into my home. And in the back fence, the water level's around about 4 feet during a flash flood, which has happened twice since we've been there. But the first one, we were able to just catch it just enough time, but the second one, it actually came over. And we've done steps to correct it, but it's not going to carry that water, though.
Mr. Skolaszczyk, is there in this basically the road improvement project, are there improvements to also the storm drain?
Yes, Mr. President, so specifically 809 Schenagel, am I
Yes,
correct? Okay, so there is actually a storm drainage easement that runs on the south side of this gentleman's property. That is one of the storm drain pipes that comes from this area or in Schenagel Drive, ultimately out to the trunk main in 10th Avenue East. That is something that we are looking at with the project. So if there's capacity in that pipe, we would look to add inlets. We have not concluded whether there's capacity in the pipe. So we're still working through the calculations.
You're talking capacity in the 10th Avenue East pipe, right?
we're looking specifically at the pipe carrying out to 10th Avenue East, from Schnagel to 10th Avenue East, and then to get out. So anything that can take additional water to the 10th Avenue East pipe is specifically what we're looking for. So
I mean, are we looking in that pipe that takes it out there? I mean, does that need to be bigger? I think that runs through like an empty lot, right? From Schnagel Drive out to 10th. It's like between two houses. We looked at that one day.
There's an easement there, sir.
Yeah, there's an easement. So yeah, it's just there's no empty lot. It's just an easement there. So I guess something else that we could look at is surface drainage improvements within those lots that ultimately drains more so towards the north towards 809 Schnagel Drive rather than to the south 787. So we could look at some grading opportunities, but that'd be something we'd have to work with those property owners on. They got established yards and those kind of things. So
There's during that flash flood, we had 3 neighbors, 4 neighbors. Their basements filled up in that area. I don't know if they've said anything. I don't know I know at least 4 homes. One south of me flooded. It actually came down the little thing and actually backed into his house and filled up his basement with water.
I guess, Josh, what I'm asking you is there capacity in the system we have there to put more inlets in? And we don't know that yet.
we don't have the answer
So
yet.
then the pipe that goes from Schnagel to 10th Avenue East, does that need to be upgraded to a bigger pipe?
That would be we'd look first at the pipe going out to 10th Avenue East. If there's no capacity in that pipe, or basically there's no additional grading opportunities from a surface drainage standpoint, then we could look at the overall trunk main on 10th Avenue East additionally. So
there's a chance that 10th Avenue East doesn't have capacity for any more water too. We don't know that yet, though.
Yeah, and we don't have that information either. Specifically though, like I said, we are looking at this as far as anything we can do to pull a little bit of extra water, even if it's a small amount, out of the street section and into the storm sewer piping. That's what we would work towards.
Well, I mean, we definitely need to look at this, because it doesn't pay for us to go fix all the roads over there and then realize we have to make storm sewer repairs 2 years from now.
Yep.
I mean, it's got to be part of the project now, so.
Yep, absolutely.
So you said you were at 809?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm just looking up, I'm just trying to find you on the map. And how much were your assessments for this?
Just under 7,000. It's like 60. I don't have the numbers off, but 6,700, I believe. I might be off a few $100,
Okay.
but somewhere in there. There's it's just a combination of the school bond going through, and this coming on top. It just is really putting a lot of significant financial pressure on our home.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Greetings, Commissioners. My name is Elisa Mack. I live over in the Washington 4th Edition, and I too was one of the protesters, and I was here at the last meeting, and we did request that we could be part of the opening of the protest ballots, because we did not feel it was fair that the engineer, who was the one that was doing the project, was the one counting the ballots. So we ask that you could provide for us if there were any discarded protest ballots, who decided if they were valid or not valid. Of the 115 that were protested, how many did you actually get in? We're America. We came back from Britain to stop taxes. Do you guys know how much you're charging the Baptist Church? Do you know how much some of these people that are bordering a farm, why would you put any type of walkway next to a farmstead. Nobody's going to walk on that. It's just not something that we can afford. Yes, the roads need to be repaired in that area, but it's just too much tax. As a real estate agent, I will tell you, it's not always easy to sell these properties when you have a lien and a tax, and you have all these things coming against these properties. This gentleman speaks for a lot more than just that one area. If you keep putting liens and taxes on these properties, the value is going to drop because they're going to have to be sold with that in mind. I just hope you guys reconsider, because 45% is way more than we even get in an election. Watch tonight the TVs. Do we get 45% of a vote even in a national election? I just ask you guys to reconsider what you're doing and reconsider this petition.
Ma'am,
or this
you
one.
you understand that we are bound by North Dakota Century Code.
I understand that, and if you're bound by North Dakota Century Code, Mr. Decker, Western Cooperative, or West River Community Center had a 4% tax, and I know it was before your time because I asked you this when you were first running for election. They have a 0.25% tax that was supposed to be sunsetted, and it never did.
Ma'am, I know you're going down a different road here, but I bring the paperwork forward that shows that it's supposed to be sunsetted. I told you at that time.
Yeah,
Did I not?
Yeah.
I've been in office for 10 years.
it was supposed to be sunsetted.
Have you brought the paperwork forward for that?
Nope, but I will now
Okay.
search that out.
I will entertain that, but tonight we're speaking to this. And I understand, we are bound by Century Code on the protest. Well, Century Code is changing. Okay, then bring forth a measure to change it. Just like they brought up the property tax thing, they brought marijuana, they're bringing all these other items. You have to, if you want it changed, we can't change it. Just like tonight, we were bound by the recall petition to Century Code.
I understand that.
Even though our home rule charter, we cannot do anything that contradicts Century Code, which is the state law. It's like assessments. You're a real estate agent. You understand. We are bound by the state to perform assessments and valuations at in a certain way because of state law.
Sure.
We can't violate that. And even when we try to make an amendment and we try to do something different, as we did this year, the county overrode us because they have that authority. So we do what we can to try to take care of our citizens, but we also, at the same time, our hands are sometimes tied because of the county and because of the state. And in this case, our hands are tied because of the protest. I feel for you too. I had to replace my sidewalk years ago. It was $22,000. I'm not immune to that.
Well, then maybe the petition should be set up to us separating when the roads need to be repaired, that the city requires that the sidewalks also do to be repaired. But that's a different subject.
Yeah.
Right
Well,
now,
when we do this, if we're
don't-
going to tear up the roads, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we do not go and fix curb and gutter and sidewalks unless we're doing a road project. I mean, some of these neighborhoods probably haven't had a street project in almost 20 years.
I agree. I've lived in that area
I mean,
20
some of
years.
these houses are probably close to 40-plus years old and have the
Sure.
original sidewalks that
Sure.
need, at some point, they need repair. I mean,
But that would be up to this, because the city code that you guys are discussing with me is that it is the responsibility of that owner to take care of those sidewalks.
we are not the only city. This is not some, like, unique thing. Bismarck, Mandan, Minot, Fargo, Grand Forks, they all special assess curb and gutter and sidewalk.
Sure, I've sold up in Devil's Lake. Yep.
I mean, this
And,
is...
and some cities assess the street. We do not.
Well,
Yeah, so some cities assess the actual mill and overlay. We pay for that 100%.
we are Dickinson, and this is what we're talking about is Dickinson.
I understand that, but I
Okay.
mean, it comes back one way or the other. So if we don't special assess, then property taxes are gonna go up for everybody.
Well, you guys
Not
have the
just the
right to
neighborhood.
say nay or yay to what's on the table, and we're asking you to say nay. Thank you.
David Steinbach. I was in contact with one of the former city commissioners, and the prior administration didn't charge the citizens for special assessments on their work. And why does this city commission think that they need to do that?
Mr. Steinbeck, we were also, when I got on this commission, doing $2.5 million a year in road and construction projects. And we had our streets looked at by, which we do about every 3 years now, I think. And we were told that if we don't start spending $6 to $8 million a year, our streets are going to be in terrible condition.
Well, I've lived in my place for 40 years. The house has been there 45, and they've never done anything except come around and oil and gravel the potholes.
Well,
even after
you haven't had a mill
city-
and you haven't had a mill and overlay in 40 years at your
That's right. And I paid taxes. I paid the special assessments for the first time because nobody lived in my house before I moved there. Why should I have to pay special assessments twice? That's double dipping on the same person. If you guys would have done the job right the first time, which is the city's fault because they're in regulation of all this stuff, they're overseeing this work, it should last way more than 45 years. There's areas in this town that have got curb and gutter that are way older than over in that area that have never been repaired.
Well,
I've been here for over 50
I guess I'm not
years.
sure where you live, but I just did a tour with Mr. Solachik the other day through the the Shenagle area. I mean, that curb and gutter is in terrible condition. The Adams,
It's no worse. You go across 10th Avenue East over on the west side of the Shenagle addition there, and they did that in 2021. And I do a lot of walking. The curb and gutter they replaced is pathetic. I mean, it's cracked all over. I have a whole list of 60 places here that I took Mr. Slodchek around and showed him. I didn't show him all of them. I just showed him some of them. I know one of the property owners over there had whoever was in charge at that time, because I believe everybody here is newer than that, and complained. And what they do, they went over there and they filled the cracks with tar. Well, if that's good enough for that area after they replaced it, why not go through and just fill all those additional cracks where it's cracked a little bit with tar and seal that crack up so no more water can get into those areas? Why tear it up and replace it with concrete that in a couple years looks just as bad or worse than what they tore out? Besides, you can go over there, and I took pictures. The cracks come across the pavement. They cracked the curb and gutter, and it continued up and cracked the sidewalk. You can see where they cut out the curb and gutter. They took that one little section of sidewalk out, replaced it, because all the rest of it's old. And it comes across, and that same crack through the pavement, and it cracks new curb and gutter in the sidewalk in the same place it was cracked before. Now, what's the use of causing all this physical and hardship and financial hardship on the property owners when it's just going to do it in a couple of years again anyhow, and it's going to look just like it did before? You might as well go over there and pour your hot tar in there and seal it up to keep the water out. If you're not going to, about the only way you'd be able to fix it is if you tore the streets and everything out completely and redid them, but gosh, we can't afford just fixing the cracks, much less do that. I mean, it's a total waste of the property owner's money. And like I say, why is this administration, before they done away with the special assessments on those repairs, how come all of a sudden they came back now? I mean, it's not like you guys haven't got money you're throwing at every little thing. You put a new roof on a new armory here a few years ago, and now you're building another new armory out here with a flat roof, and you replace that one with a angled roof because then you put...
We don't own the armory.
Huh?
The armory is not getting built by the city. The United States government's building the armory out there.
I believe the
So-
city did the roof on the one up there, right?
We do own that building.
Yeah. Now they're building a new one with a flat roof leak. And I was late for the last meeting, but my neighbor told me that Mr. Kietarowski said that they were replacing sidewalks that had an 1/8-inch deviation. Good gosh, we live in North Dakota. I think the record high temperature is 122 degrees, and I'm not sure what the record low is, but I know it's over 60 below. Concrete and stuff move more than that with those temperature fluctuations. I talked to one of the guys that I've been trying to get my sidewalk and the driveway replaced all summer, and he said, I told him that, and he said, heck, he's seen the concrete heave over 1/2 inch or more during the winter temperature fluctuations. So you're gonna go through here and tear out a sidewalk and replace it because it might have a little bit of a hump on it. Heck, I can't even see that these contractors, when they pour new sidewalks, get them within 1/8 of an inch. I mean, we'll walk around with a level and a feeler gauge and check it out if that need to be, but go over to the city. You got the city walkway through the park up there by the museum. Why, my gosh, every other slab is 3/4 of an inch up and down and huge cracks in it. If you're not gonna take care of your own city property, why do you come around and force us to replace ours? I mean, it's just, you know, I retired and I was having a fairly good retirement, and then they come around with this, and all of a sudden I've got this huge financial burden looking at me. Heck, I can't even sleep nights anymore, trying to figure out how I'm gonna pay my doggone tax bills and stuff and all these things that are forced on me by somebody that doesn't affect you whatsoever. I mean, I don't know what kind of degrees you guys got, but when I went to college, I got my bachelor's degree, we had to take psychology classes so you understood how what you did affected people. I mean, I just don't understand why this commission can't go through and replace that with the city funds, with our tax dollars and stuff. Plus, I've never heard how much money are you getting off the oil mineral rights under the city. I know the city is getting a lot of mineral rights because only a few houses get them, and I know a few of those people that tell me what they get for this little lot. They get a check every month. I know the city must get one heck of a check. What do you do with all that money they get from the oil rights underneath the city?
I think Mrs. Carlson can probably find you how much we get monthly.
For the mineral rights I can, but I don't have it on my fingertips at this moment.
I don't think it's as substantial as you think it is.
No, it's not.
It's not as substantial as you think it is.
Well, it's more than I get. and you have, okay, we needed 50% of the area. Now, were all the city streets, the curb and gutters and the boulevards included in that area? I imagine if they were, the property owners couldn't come up with 50% no matter what, because the streets are quite wide, and then plus the boulevard goes up 3 feet past my sidewalks, so my property doesn't even go close to the sidewalk and curb and gutter. So when you got area in here, was that counting against us too? It says more than 50% of property owners by area. So maybe the property owners by area can't even come up with 50%. Take out all the city.
So specifically, I'll ask James Kietarowski's in the office. He's in the back there, but he's the one that prepared and stamped the engineering report. I'll let him explain the specifics to that. So,
President and Commissioners, good evening. I'm James Kietarowski with KLJ. I just want to touch on the calculations for the area percentage on the protests. It's a simple calculation. It's a simple ratio of the sum of the deeded acreage of all protesting parcels divided by a sum of deeded acreage for all the parcels in the district. So the answer is no, the city right-of-way is not calculated, factored in there at all. So does that answer your question, Dave?
Oh, so So like those subdivisions, like each, there's 4 of them, I believe, in here, right?
Some of that, yeah, portions of.
So they're just taking each individual lot?
Yes, the deeded acreage for each lot. So any parcel that we receive a protest from, we take the sum of the deeded acreage of all those, the square footage, divided by the square footage of all the parcels in the district.
Does that
So
include-
no city right away, no street right away is factored in.
No city parks or anything?
No city parks, no public parcels.
And now there's a lot of these lots that are undeveloped. Past years, undeveloped lots never had sidewalks on them. Now, what's with all that, with undeveloped lots having sidewalks on them? My neighbor beside me's got an undeveloped lot behind him, and he's having to put a sidewalk in.
So-
And my neighbor across the street's got a part of an undeveloped lot without sidewalk on it.
So is your question, why are undeveloped lots getting sidewalk
Yeah.
installed? I think that's been a decision that the city's been made. In years past, we've always done that. I think the idea is to improve connectivity, walkability, accessibility for landowners in the neighborhood.
Yeah, but that's gonna be a waste of money, because if somebody buys that lot and develops it, the driveway area has to have 6-inch sidewalk in front of it, so then they're gonna have to tear out a perfectly good sidewalk and replace it, because they made them put a sidewalk on something that nobody walks. You know, my picture window is out to the street. People walk by there over time. Our Chenango Edition is a great walkway because there's a big loop there. Nobody walks on the sidewalk. Everybody walks down the doggone street, you know, and then you're worried about, I got a crack in my sidewalk. You know, it's a waste of property owners' money, and if they want to replace it, they should go back to doing it like the last administration, where they paid for the curb and gutter and the sidewalks out of the city funds and our taxes that we pay. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay. Mr. President and Commissioners, we're Tom and Joanne Sarr, and we live at 1177 10th Street East. We're the house just below the Chenango Farm. The west of us are 2 vacant lots that we own as well, and across the street to the south is the wheat field. To the east is the Chenango property, which I believe is out of the city limits. The 2 vacant lots that we own have no sidewalks on them, and the proposal to put sidewalks on them, that basically is a sidewalk to nowhere, because the sidewalk we have, you know, ends up going up near a fence that the Chenagos have there, and it's a gravel road past we're the only house on that block from 11th Avenue up to the Chenagos gravel driveway. The assessment to our property equals $45,000 to perhaps $63,000. If we spread it out 10 years, that could be $80,000. Now that works out to $500 to $700 per month that we'd have to pay for that. That's a mortgage, and we're retired, and this would probably force us to either sell those lots or sell our home and move elsewhere, because we'd be in our mid-80s before we had that paid off, and I don't know how we could do it with we're not on a fixed income, we're on a broken income, so I wish that you had given us like 1 or 2 years prior notice to this coming up, so maybe we could have got a cement contractor to put some sidewalks in. But I don't know why I would want to put sidewalks in vacant lots and when there's nowhere to go with these sidewalks. So I thank you for your time.
Have you spoken to staff regarding this?
Yes.
Has anybody reached out to Josh?
We talked to Chris.
Yeah, I believe that they spoke with Chris this morning, so.
Okay.
And before that, I had talked with Chris.
And just so everyone knows that's present, and I think this was quite clear in the letter, and maybe I'm mistaken, but you do have the option of, if you need repairs on your concrete, you can do it yourself. Was that not put into the letter? Yes, Josh?
That information was in the frequently asked questions document that was submitted with the. Oh, that information was.
Somebody
provided
needs
in
to
the-
turn up the mics in the back, because we can't, the side mics, nobody can hear anybody.
The option to replace the concrete was something that was in the frequently asked questions document, if I recall correctly. So.
You can hire a private contractor.
That won't be that easy. There aren't that many contractors that aren't already have their schedules full, you know, but for the city projects and this project. So,
I mean, I think we can have staff review, I mean, since your sidewalks seem to go to nowhere, maybe we can review that and take a look at that one. I mean, the point is once these neighborhoods are 85% built out, and there's a handful of vacant lots that have been sitting there for 5, 6, 10 years, whatever, that you have a sidewalk, no sidewalk, then a sidewalk again, you know, to the house that's there. We're trying to finish out you know, so it's continuous. I mean, at some point, we have to put the sidewalks in. I mean, these people have just held on to lots, made them their yards, said they're undeveloped, but then don't put sidewalks in. Well, when you have neighborhoods that are 85, 90, 95, even 99% built out, we're trying to fill in those blank areas. But in your situation, I think we could review that, where you have a sidewalk going to a gravel road that's nobody's really going to walk probably that way. So we could probably take a look at that one. So I'll have Josh.
I did a measurement. They would require me to put 507 feet of sidewalk in. So that's quite an expense that I don't know where we would come up with that kind of money, but.
Well, and they touched on it earlier, that those 2 vacant lots that we have, if we ever sold those and somebody wanted to develop on them, here we've got that cement on them, and now people are gonna be driving over them to put the house up, put the basement in. You know, all those kinds of things, I think, have to be looked at.
Well, that happens quite frequently.
Yes.
Where I live, there had to be a curb cut put in they basically poured the sidewalk and cement way before the house was built. And all the way up our street is that way also. The curb and the sidewalk was paved way before the houses were ever built. And as you walk down the street, you can see where they've cut the curb out to make a driveway. So that isn't something very, you know, it's not unique. It happens across the city. Yeah.
Right, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right thing to do, or
No.
the prudent financial
Well,
thing to do.
Well, as Commissioner Frederick has stated, I think they can look at, because of your unique situation next to a gravel road, they could possibly look at that east-west portion there. I pulled up your lot, the east-west portion. I think there you do have a neighbor to your northwest, which has sidewalk, and there would be some it looks like they're minus a sidewalk right now too, right? Or do they have a sidewalk in to your northwest?
They do have their sidewalk
The
in. yes.
Novell? Okay.
Yes.
So,
Well, we'll be very happy if someone comes to look at it again and talk with us.
You said that the special wouldn't be payable till October of 27?
26.
26.
26.
There's no interest or anything charged if you pay it by October of 26, I believe, yes.
It's hard to hear you.
I'm sorry. I said I don't think there's any interest charged or anything to you if it's paid in full before October of 26.
So that'd give me nearly 2 years to get the house ready to sell then if I have to. Okay. Thank you for your time. Anything else, Ann?
no, this is the one that's getting built right here, or was built. They said there's sidewalk in. They own this, these two empty lots. All right, thank you for your comments.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, my name's Paul Bartholomew. Nice beard. I'm trying. I'm here tonight to get my mind cleared up on the criteria first for replacing the curb and gutter. On our sidewalk and curb and gutter at 1116 Garfield Street, they've got 75 feet slated to be replaced of curb and gutter. There's probably 10 feet that I can say legitimately needs attention. The next door neighbor has filled the cracks in her curb with tar. I have not. None of her curb that I see on this is slated for replacement. So do I just fill my cracks with sealant and I'm exempt from having this replaced? I'll admit there's 33 feet of sidewalk needs attention. And I've talked to contractors trying to find out who will work for the, or work with the city. And the closest one to the cost that I have on this sheet from the city is $2,000 less money. So I'm curious about the criteria first for replacing the curb and gutter. I did hear some earlier, but when I spoke with the KLJ surveyor that was out there earlier surveying this project, he told me it was a drainage issue. Sidewalks were holding water. So I quizzed him a little bit more. He tells me he's an intern from Fargo. He's out there surveying this stuff on his own, unsupervised, an intern making discretionary decisions on what needs to be replaced, what doesn't need to be replaced. That's a lot of money for an intern to be looking at, in my opinion, unsupervised. So is it possible that this maybe needs a second look? I'm not saying that my sidewalk doesn't need replaced. There are places, there's some that needs it bad. But generally, it's just below the curb, and that's what the surveyor was telling me that was the issue, that it wouldn't drain properly. So I walked across the street. Her sidewalk, there's one section there in green that shows needs replaced. The entire sidewalk is a ½ an inch or better below grade of the curb. I'm finding it hard to understand what the criteria is, how some of us replace everything and others that are nearly identical to mine are not. And then Bruce Stillings is on the corner there next door to us to the west. He couldn't be here tonight, but he asked me to bring up concerns about his as well. As you can see on your map, the sidewalk east and west and the entire curb east and west are slated for replacement. You can look at that sidewalk today and it looks fine. There's cracks in it. In the spring, it heaves up. The root cause, in my opinion, is when the snow is pushed up over on that side, it doesn't get sun and it won't melt. And it fills that whole entire sidewalk with water, deep. I try to keep up with it. Bruce tries to keep up with it. We've actually even had the city stormwater folks come over. I believe his name was Bill, and brought a hand over with a backhoe to break the ice out of there as it forms. It's 6-8 inches thick, and the water can't run. It diverts it up onto the sidewalk. So that snow gets piled up there and blocks that water from getting to the storm drain when it starts to melt. I'm just wondering if we can maybe reconsider or take a second look at Garfield Street. There is some, I agree, needs to be replaced, not all of it. I apologize, I didn't know there was meetings prior to this one, so I'd have been here and voiced my opinion earlier so that maybe we could have talked about the criteria being met. But I didn't realize this was going on until I got that letter, and by then it was, the meetings were over, so.
Paul, have you met with the city engineer?
I have not.
Okay. Do you know if your neighbor has? Your neighbor?
Bruce? No,
Yeah.
he has not.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions for Paul? All right, thank you, sir, for your comment.
Is there a chance we can get this looked at, a second?
Yeah, reach out to Mr. Skolacek. They'll,
Do you have a business card somehow I can get a hold of you?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Don't get me in trouble with my neighbors by saying, oh yeah, we missed theirs, we need to replace all of that. That was not my intent. Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
thank
Yep,
you.
Thank you.
David Steinbach again. I forgot one thing that you brought up. You talked about we can replace it ourselves. Well, last spring after they came around and I seen what was going on, I contacted 2 contractors. Well, I've contacted 4 of them by now. And I got estimates. My estimate was $7,200 less than what was on our papers here for what my work was going to be done. And when I got my estimates, we've got multiple curbs over there, and we've got these fools that think they should park on the sidewalk all times. So I had it figured out to pour all my sidewalks at 5.5 inches thick instead of 3.5 like the city does. And it was still $7,200 cheaper than what was on the form from the city, which says it could be 40% higher. Now, I had a contractor's license for around 25 years. When we bought our materials and did our jobs, we bought bulk. And so we got most of our materials for 10% over cost, and so we laid that on to our customers. So we were able to bid cheaper and do our work and still make a good profit. With the amount of work that the contractor that does the cement work does, it should be less than anything that we get from individual contractors. Not only that, I've been waiting 6 months, and they've got too much work with this new construction where they don't have to tear out any sidewalks or any concrete and remove it. They just have to form it up and pour new. You know, they're not going to bother with it. So I waited 6 months. It's freeze-up time, it's not time to pour concrete anymore. Now, next spring, are we still gonna be able to opt out and have it poured ourselves? Because I'm still waiting on a contractor to show up? Or how's that gonna work?
So specifically at the time, once we start the project and we move into the area, that would be, the contractor will just basically take over the project. If it's marked to be removed and replaced, that'd be our plan, is just to take that on if it's not done by the time we
You
get
only
there.
sent this thing out in September. By then, the end of the concrete season was almost over to get a contractor going. I even got a jump on it by months, and I still haven't got anybody to show up and replace it. So I'm getting penalized, and I'll have to do, I mean, your cement guy you have do it, he replaced this, the second to the last house developed up there is right across the street from me. He's got a stamp on there, they done it in 2014. My house was, concrete was poured 45 years ago. That was poured 10 years ago. The driveway, the walkway up to the house, the sidewalk is cracked just as bad, if not worse, than mine that's been there for 45 years. And I'm supposed to accept the person you send out there to replace my cement if I don't get somebody there in time? I don't think that's right. I mean, if I have to pay for it, I should be able to pick and choose who I have do it and watch over them to see that they do it right. I mean, it's not like I'm an amateur here. I've been in construction just about all my life after I left the farm. Highway construction, building construction, we dug out the footings, we poured the footings, we set the forms, we poured the concrete. I'm not talking without any background in it. There's no reason that they should be charging the outrageous rates they are because of the volume they're doing. They have to be getting one heck of a break on their materials because everybody else does construction. Mr. Friedrich, he should know that. You know, you buy your materials by the semi-load, you get them a lot cheaper than if you gotta buy a pickup load at a time.
It's true, but Mr. Stumbeck, you gotta realize, as a city, we have to put this out on bids. You know how many bids we get for these street projects every year? One. Nobody bids. There's not enough contractors. Everybody's busy. We get one every year.
Okay.
And so,
When you're pouring this, I watched them when they did that up by the, on Sims, up by the old armory. I never seen anybody taking core samples and taking them in and seeing if they were the right concrete strength.
Mr. Steinbach.
I mean, I
Mr.
worked on a lot
Steinbach,
of,
we use professional engineers. I'm pretty sure they know what they're doing.
yeah, and I've seen them where they cut corners and save money and pad their pocket just a little bit better too. We did the, we did the fire hall in Mott, we did the fire hall in Medora, we did the county shop in Belfield back in the 70s when I was doing it. You know, we did a lot of jobs, and we had to take core samples and had somebody there and have them checked for PSI strength, and there was none of this watering the concrete down so it flowed out nice and smooth. You know, I didn't see a single core sample taken on there when they were pouring the cement up there. Maybe they did before I was there, but maybe it's not required.
It's absolutely required, and if you'd like to come to my office, I'd happy to share the concrete strength data that we have and all the other testing information that we did on Sims. So.
And my question is, why is all that stuff over on the west side of 10th Avenue East where I took you over and showed you? Why are there so many cracks? I have my list, still got my list here. I had over 60 of them, and I didn't get all of them. I mean, in 3 years, there shouldn't be that bad a crack up on that concrete. I lived in my house a long time before any cracks started showing up on the driveway and the sidewalks. It's just my professional opinion. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Does anyone else wish to come forward to speak to road improvement SID?
President Decker, Commission. My name's Cole Baseflug. I live at 1315 8th Street East. Just gonna say it right away. I feel that this probably shouldn't go through just for the pure fact of the cost of it to a lot of people and what it will cost to them. One question I do have is if this does go through, it says in here the City of Dickinson may consider to award bids of 40% over estimated cost. When do we, if this goes through, when do we find out what that bid is or if that increase is going to be incurred?
So right now, we're hoping either by the end of this calendar year or early the following, that we'd put the project out to bid and then we'd have that information back. That specific statement is just a quote out of Century Code, which is why we put that in, so.
Will we be notified by mail or anything, or do we need to come to the city hall to find out what the bid is to see if my cost is going to be increasing for my assessment?
Historically, we haven't sent out post-bid notifications, but if you want to just give me a call or monitor the city commission agendas for once the bid goes out for the project, then happy to have a discussion if you'd like to discuss that.
One other topic to go along with this gentleman here, where he said he was having issues on the south side of his house. During heavy rainfalls, I'm at the corner of Baker and 8th. During heavy rainfalls, there has been collection of water there. I'm assuming it's coming from the south. And during normal rains, you can see it coming from the north. And there's that inlet there on the corner of my lot, on the southeast corner there. When I was at that public hearing or that information meeting a few weeks ago, there wasn't any talk of anything being done with that inlet. In my opinion, there's some issues there that with the way the curb has settled. If this does happen, I would recommend something gets looked at there.
Mr. Baseflug, gets a single inlet?
Yeah, I guess I would consider it a single, yes. To me, it looks like there's some possible settling, whether it's the curb or the grate per se itself.
Yeah, those would be things that we look at with the project, so.
Yeah, I drove this area with Josh the other day, and there's a lot of curb that's settled. I mean, I built quite a few houses east of, Baker, I think. And the soil type over there is just really super clay and tough, so I know what you're talking about, but.
And I don't know if it's in the plan, but standing back, looking at Baker, the way that road looks to me to be raised or crowned substantially, is that part of the drainage that's intended to be there, or is that something that's just happened over time with over construction?
Well, I think it's been patched over the years so many times that the crown has probably grown. So, and with this project, we're going to mill it all off. So.
Yeah, specifically, we haven't received our full geotech report for this, but there are pavement cores and borings done. So once we have that information, we can look at what the pavement section is through that specific area and look at that uniquely.
And I agree with that gentleman that lives on Garfield with the differences in cracks and things like that. I believe there might be some inconsistencies from other sidewalks in the area. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baseflug. Anyone else wish to come forward?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I just wanted to state, I also live on Shenango and 7th. I live on that corner there.
Could you state your name for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry, Glenda Schatz.
Okay. Thank you, Glenda.
I also live on that corner there, and like that gentleman said, with his basement being flooded, mine was one as well. And I know it was a bad storm, a lot of rain in a very short time, so that was kind of a significant thing. But every time it does rain a lot, that corner, it just like builds up fast. At that particular incident, I have a fire hydrant on my corner of my lot, and probably that much of the fire hydrant was sticking out of the water. I mean, it was that high, and it did flood my basement as well and stuff. So my concern is if we pay this dollar amount now to fix the roads and the sidewalks and stuff, and then like Commissioner Frederick said, 2 years down the road, then we're going to worry about the drainage system. I think we can't put the cart before the horse. We have to worry about, in that particular section, worry about the drainage before we do any other work with the roads, the sidewalks, and so forth, because it's just a very bad drainage system there.
And one of the major issues is the type of curb they use there. They don't allow that curb anymore. Mountable curb is not allowed because it doesn't carry any water, unfortunately, so.
I just know when it rains, there's a heavy rain, it builds up fast, and I just cringe because it crawls up my driveway. And I've already had to replace stuff in my basement twice. I've been flooded, so it's just it's a big concern of mine with the rain and the whole drainage system in that particular area. I mean, I know things need to be fixed, roads, sidewalks, and all that, and I'm not against that at all. But like I said, I don't want to I don't think we should put the cart before the horse. We should worry about that before fixing the roads and stuff in that area, so
Agreed.
that's all I have.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else wish to come forward on the SID project?
My name is Brett Messel, afternoon or evening. All that I live on the 1200 block of 8th Street East. I think living there the last 3 years, there's more issues in that area than what people have seen. I mean, you drive down the road, it's like a sponge, that whole area. And back to what Mr. Frederick said, is it's a lot of clay. I talked to Josh, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and he said that he hadn't had the samples back yet, the core samples back. Tonight he had said that he hasn't had the core samples back yet. I think there's just too many undetermined factors that they haven't looked at yet. I guess I would recommend maybe tabling it until we get those core samples back to look at it. I see, like on Baker, that avenue is horrible, but then I see like 8th Street East, 7th Street East, all them are following in the same footsteps as that road. So my concern is, are we gonna have that, even if we do the mill and overlay, if we don't go down further or look into the core samples, are they gonna be a situation like Baker is today in 5 years? I know that there's a lot of work that needs to be done in that neighborhood, and maybe it's just bad timing with, like this gentleman's, the finances, the burdens that it's putting on people this day and age. I just asked the commission to look into it, maybe table it, maybe do another eval, anything like that. I guess that's all I have.
All right.
Josh, I mean, there's a lot of subgrade prep that they're gonna be looking at.
Yep, no, we anticipated that with the project, so.
Okay, so I understand anticipating, so there's actually no plan yet.
So based on visuals, I know that Mr. Kudrowski with KLJ, we've actually driven that whole area and looked at specifically areas that we anticipate for subgrade corrections before we even get the geotechnical data back. And so those are things that we've been working on for a long time. So the geotech data will be supplemental data to further evaluate basically the overall extent of any subcuts that are completed and those kind of things.
So that data is already being processed, you just haven't got the final determination?
Yeah, we don't have the final report from the geotechnical engineers, but ultimately, those are things that we have been considering. I mean, these were discussions that we had, I'm trying to think when, back in spring, when we got under contract with KLJ for this project. The concern was, you know, there's gonna be a fair bit of subcuts completed with this area and with this project. So it's been discussed.
So, but there is no official plan put together to approach the commission and say, hey, this is what we have going. It's all just kind of up in air until they approve it, and then you take it and 6 months have a plan, or spring have a plan.
We're not bid ready with the project. That's not the schedule that was ever planned. Our plan was to have the project bid ready near the end of this year or first of the 2025. But we're on schedule. We're moving ahead. There's nothing that I feel that the cart is ahead of the horse. We're doing everything as per normal industry standards or normal engineering standards, and I think we're well on cue with giving a good quality product to the community.
Okay. It just seems like there's too many undetermined questions out there, and you're just asking the commission to approve it or not approve it. And I just asked the commission to actually, you know, look at it a second time before they make an approval or a determination.
I mean, I think all we're doing tonight is approving the special improvement district. The curb and gutter and sidewalk, we know what has to be replaced, so that's the only thing that's being really approved tonight. Now, if they get into this and they get their geotech reports back on the street and it's gonna take way more subgrade, that'll be something that'll be put in the bid package, and the street repair project portion of it, not including the sidewalk or the curb, could go way up from what that total is, but we're just approving what we think the sidewalk and curb replacement is gonna cost today, not the total project.
Anything on the street or stormwater, we absorb that.
So the citizens, it's just a sidewalk, curb and gutter?
That's
Yes.
Okay.
Nothing on the street, nothing on the storm.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
none of
they're-
that's passed on to the homeowner.
On to you guys.
It's just the street and sidewalk and curb and gutter.
Yeah.
Okay. And when is it gonna get turned over to the contractor to start doing their work?
So we need to complete our plans and specifications. This is one of those tasks that we ultimately are working through, is the special improvement district portion. And
Do you have an
then
estimated date or?
right now,
month?
as I said before, we're hoping either by the end of the calendar year or early of 2025 that we'd have the project plans and specifications complete, and we'd put the project out to bid. We'd follow all Century Code requirements related to bidding durations. We'd follow the bid opening procedures as defined in Century Code. And so we're thinking, you know, probably in February sometime, most likely, that we'd have bid information available, and then it would first be presented to the city commissioners based on my suggestion related to what's in the bid package.
So what could, with your professional opinion, what could be like the earliest start date? Like May, June, July?
All weather dependent.
Okay.
This year we had an early start because it was a mild winter and early, basically the frost came out of the ground early.
Yep.
The year or two prior to that, that was absolutely not the case. We had a very challenging winter. I think it was the worst winter on record, and that was a much later start that actually caused a lot of challenges for a lot of things. So most likely it would be end of May, early June, most likely.
Okay.
Based on
With the-
historicals,
with
but
the
that's all
letter
weather dependent.
That came out on early September. You said that we can hire a contractor, which is fine. But on that special little meeting that we had, you said that our work had to be done before you handed the keys over to the contractor.
Yep.
So if you're gonna hand the keys over, let's say May or June, that gives the citizens literally winter to get their sidewalks taken care of, and maybe a month or two in spring. Well, all those concrete contractors are kind of pushing us off to the side now because they want to get everything finished up before winter. So the earliest they're going to come look at it is in spring. Do you kind of get what I'm following me?
I'm following you, and that's why we're trying to move this whole process up. When I started just over 2 years ago, we were just in time delivery on a lot of this stuff. So April-ish, we were awarding to the contractor and trying to get started a couple months later. In this case, we're talking, January, February timeframe for a bid award. What we're trying to do is move that up another several months. So right now, we are actually in process of preparing the RFP for the 2026 road maintenance project. We are working on that. It's not out to public yet, and for engineering firms to actually submit on, but we are working on that. We are hoping soon in January that the engineering firm could theoretically be awarded the contract and start working on that to move that entire timeline up, to basically give more time to the individual citizens. So that's what we're working towards.
Thank you. That's all I have, is just you guys to maybe look at it another month. Give us some more time, maybe table it until then. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Anyone else? Now I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, any questions, discussion?
Mr. President,
Commissioner Bear.
is it possible for us to give the residents some more time to hire a contractor to get in there to do the work, and then to get in and follow up? It just seems time is an issue here, but it just seems, I understand what the city wants to do. I'm okay with that, but it just seems like we're rushing them and putting them in a situation where it's almost impossible for them to hire a contractor in time to go in, do the concrete work, and have it done before the city starts doing their work. Again, we depend on weather, so does the contractors. They depend on weather. If we have a bad winter, their contractors will not be able to start any sooner than our contractors would. I'm just thinking, in the future, as we plan these projects, is it possible to get a letter out to the residents a year in advance so they have an entire year to have the work done, and then for us to go in and do the city's part a year later?
That's a question for the engineering team, so.
So specifically, Commissioner Bear, that is part of what we are working towards right now, is actually moving that timeline up. Ideally, and like I said, we're working as diligently as we can to get that RFP out, but ultimately, we'd like to see, most likely in maybe May or early June of next year, that we'd be going through this process for the 2026 project. So that would continue to move that overall schedule back, 6 to 8 months than what we've had before, or in this case, 3 to 4 months from what we're doing right now. So we're continuing to move that timeline up.
Okay.
And then ultimately with the 2026 project, I'd like to have that project bid ready and give us the flexibility to make decisions on when we want to put it out to bid, maybe even this time next year. Maybe try to get more competition.
So realistically, how long, in your mind, does that give individuals to get a contractor?
In that case, if we went through the SID process in May or June, they'd have almost 12 months.
How long?
Almost 12 months, because
Almost 12
the
months.
2026 project wouldn't start until May or June of 2026.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So have most of the landowners or the property owners, have they, I guess, have we been over the ground with the ones that that have come to your office and discussed what they feel are discrepancies in determining the sidewalk? Have you been able to walk all the property? that what, people have contacted you?
I personally, I would say that there's been a small number where Mr. Kudrowski has gone out and met with a handful of people. Mr. Keller, city staff, senior engineer Keller has met with a couple of people, but ultimately the vast majority, and I say dozens, I have personally met on site with them on their property.
And commissioners, a few of you have been on site too?
Yeah, me and Josh and
Yeah.
Mr. Prouse were out last week or
And
week before.
looking at some of the, discussing options.
Mm-hmm.
Have any of those?
That neighborhood is, there's a lot of subgrade issues, obviously, causing curbs and sidewalks to crack and be lifted or sunk, or, it's unfortunate. It just,
So Commissioner Frederick, those issues need to be resolved before the residents do any kind of concrete work. Because if they're gonna do the work and it's just gonna break it down, before they take care of the drainage situation, we should take care of that first, shouldn't we?
well, if they're just doing their sidewalks, which I think that's all they're allowed to do anyway, right, is the sidewalk portion of it? Privately?
Some have done their curb, but ultimately we would make sure that we would inspect that to make sure that the drainage isn't going to cause a drainage issue back upstream on there, or downstream for that matter.
I guess if they're allowed to do the curb, as long as it's done and with engineering's approval or, inspections, it can be done. There's just, that area has needed this for a long time. I've been on this commission 8 years and we've bandaged that road a lot. So it's just time for a reconstruction. And that's what we need to do there. It's unfortunately, the drainage is a tough fix unless we go in there and put high back curb in the whole thing. Which, that's why they don't allow mountable curb anymore, because it doesn't carry any water. So if you put high back curb in all that, then everybody's yards will be out of grade. They'll have to fix all their yards too.
Okay.
So that's the problem. Because the high back curb would stand up taller, so then everybody's yard would be too low, more than likely, and they would have to fix that issue.
What you had said about the pipe, if we put a larger pipe in there, would that?
Well, I think they're
help
looking.
solve
I
that?
think they're
is
looking at that. So.
But is that something we need to wait to see if that's gonna happen?
As
Or-
far as timeline goes, we're on track as far as meeting that bid ready date for either the end of this calendar year or early in 2025. So that's all part of the process. So I have no concerns about meeting the schedule and addressing whatever needs to related to if a pipe needs to be upsized, if we need to add additional inlets, look at other attributes, whatever the case may be, surface drainage potentials, those kind of things, work with some of those property owners that they have drainage easements on their property. I think we have plenty of time to address all of those things yet, so.
Mr. Sklochek, would there be the opportunity for the property owners that, say that have some minor repairs that don't have large sections, just say small sections of curb or sort of small sections of their actual sidewalk, that we could allow them that after we're done with the road construction to hire a contractor to come in to fix those smaller areas?
That would have to be limited to the sidewalk, because any curb needs to be addressed so that we can pave up tight to
Okay.
that and address, because otherwise you're gonna have ride quality issues on the road.
Right.
And whatnot, because the paver ultimately rides along the lip of curb
Right.
as it paves along, so.
Well, I would think in this case, the sidewalk is probably the largest cost. With these drive-up curbs, they're probably not as expensive as the high curbs.
Still about the same amount of labor that goes into it. There's not a huge cost differential, slightly less material, but still.
I was just looking like if maybe there was a possibility of that they be able to hire a contractor to do the sidewalk Yeah, I understand the curb part, what you're saying. The curb's got to be done when the road's done, or around that same period because of, but I'm wondering if, say there's some minor sidewalk issues, that could be corrected after the fact because of the time hack that they're dealing with trying to find a contractor.
I think the only challenge there would be is making sure that we have clear notification processes, and it would have to be some kind of written form or something like that so that it's clear and standard documentation. It would also have to be, that has to be communicated from city staff to KLJ performing the engineering services, as well as directly to the contractor, not to remove those specific sections of sidewalk. I mean, it could be done. We could look into that. It would be a
I'm just
challenge
thinking,
to
put a
say the
big
least.
red X on it, and that just lets the contractor know, don't touch it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we could develop a form or something like that, I guess. So that could be something we could work towards.
I mean, I'm just looking for options for them because of the time hacks, and they're having the issue finding contractors. I mean, I think we can look at some different options. The one thing too that I have brought this up in the past, and I'll speak for Commissioner Oderman, he has brought this up in the past too. I do have concerns on anyone that does choose to put it on their specials for 10 years, the interest we're charging. I guess I would leave that up for debate. But I do, feel that we should just have whatever the lowest rate we have charged in the past, we should just adhere to that.
I would agree with that.
Wasn't there a century code?
I don't think there's a century code on that one. I think it's just a standard across cities.
I thought there's a minimum.
I'd have to check, Commissioner Frederick. You might be, but I don't recall if that's in our code or not.
We've had
but
this brought up before, but
there
I
might
thought there's a
be.
minimum interest rate we have to charge it.
We'll do some checking.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of questions here for individuals. Go ahead. Was it Brad? I'm having a hard time hearing.
Brett.
Brett?
Yep.
Okay. I'm trying to look you up. There's no Brad lives anywhere on that street you said. And I'm like, okay.
1233.
1233.
Is my address.
Okay.
For the house number.
Okay.
So back to when you guys sent out the letters September, I think I got mine like September 4th or 5th. Is there a way that we could adjust the date to when it's first approached by the city, or whenever you start the process saying, hey, the residents of Washington 4th, we're thinking about doing this? Because when I had talked to you a couple weeks ago, there really was no public hearing until you got that letter. I had no idea until September 3rd, and then and the white marks on the pavement. Is there another letter that you can send out, let's say May, saying, hey, Washington 4th, just giving you a heads up. We're thinking about doing it. So then it essentially would give us a summer and a winter to get a contractor.
Well, that's ultimately what I described earlier, was we're trying to move the whole schedule up for the entirety of the project by several months. And so we've already moved it by several months.
But how hard
now,
is it to send out a letter like when this first got started, that same letter that you sent out in September, why couldn't you have sent it out in May?
Well, that's what I'm hoping to send out. The specific SID letters for the 26 project would be in May. That's right now my tentative schedule. So it'd be moving the whole process up, I guess.
So the projects that you had in 2022, they only got like a 6-month notice as well?
I believe most of those occurred in the winter. And that was part of the feedback from the commission was during the winter, it's hard to ultimately see what is damaged and to meet with property owners and stuff. So we continuously move as fast as we can to move the timeline up. In this case, we were only able to move it a number of months. Once again, we're going to take action to move it by another number of months. So.
Okay, and then the other question I have is as far as like the interest. Us residents have paid property taxes, and I understand it goes to schools and, this and that. But looking at it as a citizen, it's interest that the city is charging us, or wherever you get your money, on money that we already paid to the city. So it's almost like you're chopping us at the ankles and then you're chopping us at the knees.
We'll have to look at that. I'm pretty sure there is a minimum interest that we have to charge by state law.
Commissioner Frederick, I just looked it up. It's 402402, talks about the payment of special assessment interest. All special assessments levied under this title may be paid without interest within 10 days after they've been approved by the governing body, and thereafter shall bear interest at an annual rate not exceeding 1 1/2 percent points above the average net annual interest rate on any warrants or bonds for the payment of which they are pledged on the total amount thereof remaining unpaid.
So I knew there was an interest rate.
See, I get that most of the crowd here is gonna say, I pay property tax,
Yep.
and that should go towards my road.
Yep, and I understand, like I said, there's stuff for schools and this and
Right.
that, but it's
But-
just we're paying interest on money that we already paid.
Right. But we have to loan money to do these projects. The complete amount of property tax that we collect as a city is.
As a city now.
As
no.
a city, not anybody else, as a city, is $4.9 million across the whole city.
That's what we get.
That's what we get. 4.9 million. We actually collect as a city 5.7 million, but we have to give 450,000 to the public library and 450,000 to the airport. So we get to keep 4.8. And not everybody pays. I'm just going to tell you guys that right up front. Not everybody pays their taxes. So we don't even get that. Last year we were short how much, Mrs. Carlson?
Around 200,000.
So 200,000, take that off. What the individuals pay in property tax, we don't even pay for the police department. Our police department's 7 million?
Close to that, yes.
$7 million. So what we do is we have to find ways to pay for these projects. This project's $9 million plus dollars. We could switch the way we collect property tax. We could do what other cities do and jack up the property tax. But since Commissioner Frederick and I have been in office, I've been in a couple of years longer, we have not moved. We've been 5.7 million in collection for the last 8 years. And we've kept it that way. We're the lowest city and county in the state of North Dakota if you take out the Indian counties. The lowest. And I get it. I feel the pain too. It's not unique. I grew up here. I pay taxes. I don't, but it's the reality of the world is we have to find a way to do this. And as Commissioner Frederick said earlier, we are spending $2.5 million fixing roads when him and I came on the commission. And they told us, if you guys do not pick up the pace, your city roads will fall apart. So we're trying our best to keep this down. That's why I want to address this in a proper way, that we keep the interest rate as low as we are able to, because of Century Code, as low as we are able to. Because if we loan money from the state, Bank of North Dakota, we have to take whatever their rate is plus that 1.25? 1 1/2, 1.5%. That's what we're allowed, because we're paying interest on their money. And we're just trying to keep the taxes down for everybody. A few years ago, I proposed a sales tax increase. Because that would have, one penny, just for the public. I hate to turn this into an educational thing, and I know you got to be somewhere. So, Commissioner Riddle, if you got to go.
We're all right for
Okay.
now. So.
1 cent that we proposed a few years ago, 1 cent gets us $8 million in sales tax. That is way more than any property tax we collect. And guess what happened? Guess what the voters said? No. And we were going to use that for this purpose, to try to buy all this stuff down. And the voters said no. So we're trying, and I'm not trying to make excuses. We're trying as much, but I have a brother that lives in Chinago. He's not happy with me. He lives across from the Schatzes. She's smiling back there. He's got a corner lot. He's 20 grand into this. He's not happy with me. But we're trying to fix this road. I've told people in the past, you cannot drive down Chenango and keep your mouth open because you'll probably bite your tongue off if you drive too fast. That's how bad this road is. And those of you that live on Chenango know that. But at one point, we have to bite the bullet as a city. We're gonna probably spend north of $7 million, $8 million to do this whole project. The 1.9 million that we're approving tonight is for the property owners to get their sidewalks, get their gutters fixed. And that's spread out. We're just trying to do it in the most equitable manner as possible, without. I don't even know how to put it. I mean, we already are doing the road. If you lived in Bismarck or Fargo, that would be on your house. They'd special the whole thing, if I'm correct. We're trying to figure this out. I get it, you want us to take some more time, but all we're approving tonight is basically saying that we have identified the sidewalk and gutters that need to be replaced. And I know there's gonna be challenges, and I think that's why we're all trying to brainstorm up here, trying to find you guys some time so that you can get a contractor. I did it when mine needed to be replaced at my old house on 9th Avenue West. I got a city bid and I got 2 contractor bids. At that time, I guess, 5 years ago, they were all able to do that. I ultimately went on my own and I didn't special ed on my house. I paid for it up front, 20 grand. I had to replace everything. It's hard when you're like Mr. Steinbeck said, he's been in that house for 40 years. The house where I replaced mine, it was built in 1966. Guess who was the lucky owner that got to replace the sidewalk? Me.
And you lived in it for how long?
About 5 years.
Yeah.
When I had to replace the sidewalk. So it had existed for almost 50 years, and then it was my turn. And, this is not an easy thing for any of us. I mean, we all live in the city, and it's challenges, and we're trying to find that we're trying our best to keep prices down for you guys. This is trying times. Everybody's hurt by what's going on. The challenge that we have, as Commissioner Frederick said, we get one bid. Ever since I've been on the commission, that has been the challenge. There's so much construction going on, we get one bid. We get a road project, one bid. Tonight on some of the other things, we get one bid. Sometimes we turn it down as a commission. But at the same time, we got to move forward and get these projects done, because we can kick the can down the road again another year. It doesn't make anything any cheaper. I mean, everybody here is seeing the inflationary costs of everything going up. And I don't think it's going to matter who gets into the White House tonight. Well, it's not going to happen tonight, but sometime in the next month. I don't think that's going to matter. They're not going to be able to really push down the inflationary costs that are happening. But I feel your pain, and it makes it tough for us. But we do have to move forward. And like I said, what we're identifying tonight is the concrete and curb that needs to be replaced. That has nothing, the road and all that's going to fall on Josh and his team. And then ultimately, the cost for the road's going to fall on us. And then we're going to have to come up with a way to pay for that. And then most of the time, we end up borrowing money. Because even though Mrs. Carlson does a great job giving the financial report and all that money gets thrown up there, a lot of that money is all dedicated to something already. Even though it says cash on hand or cash reserves, that money is all dedicated to something. And you can ask the auditor that comes in every year and looks at our books. If we were doing something wrong, they would audit us and punish us, and they don't. We pass our audits every time. So we're not doing anything sneaky or, we're just trying to get the city operated. And we operate lean. We have 212 employees? 212 employees running a city this size. We operate very lean. So we're trying to do the best for you guys. And I appreciate your comments. So we're just trying our best to get things done, to improve your neighborhoods and make it safe for everybody. And hopefully get rid of some of these flooding issues that you guys brought up to us.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, did you close the public hearing?
I haven't yet, but,
No.
well, maybe I did I?
I did.
Go ahead.
So, I heard a couple of things that I wanted to bring up was, I heard Commissioner Fredericks, and I also heard you say, what we're here to pass tonight, so none of this is even being considered. Your minds are already made up, in my opinion, from what I've heard. The second thing I wanted to bring up was, I appreciate your input about contractors. Can we get a contractor to have a subcontractor, a city-approved contractor, hire a subcontractor to do the work? Because you're absolutely right. All of the contractors that I've tried to get to do this sidewalk want to use it for a filler project, which is understandable. I get it. But if they could use a subcontractor, not a city-approved, because the list of city-approved contractors to do this work is pretty short.
I think if they have a contractor in mind, it's a pretty simple process to get licensed and bonded with the city, so.
The contractors that I've talked to want nothing to do with this city. I have heard good things about you. Most of them say you're a lot easier to work with than your predecessor. But in the same breath, they say, we don't want anything to do with it. We don't need it. So that's why I was wondering if we could get, so I talked to James out at Two's Construction, right? If he wants to use it for filler work and you're never gonna get him, so can he hire a subcontractor and still bill it through Two's? Or is that not gonna work?
Yeah, I don't think that that's an issue. You can have a sub, so. Yeah.
You can, you said?
That's my understanding. I'd have to look specifically. We can have a conversation with that tomorrow. But yeah, I believe you can have a sub but you have to work under their license.
So as long as Two's takes responsibility for the subcontractor, you wouldn't have an issue with the subcontractor doing it?
No, as long as it would be that individual contractor, not naming names, that's licensed and bonded with the city, and they're taking full responsibility for the work. They're submitting the building permit application, they're, those kind of things.
So there's another window open that we could possibly,
I mean, for example, on our capital projects, each of the prime contractors has multiple subs working for them.
right.
So,
I just wanted to make sure that wasn't gonna be an issue for you. If I pursue that with a contractor that's licensed and bonded with the city, and then he goes through a sub, and then you come and say, oh, no.
no, I don't think that's gonna be an issue. I'll double check in the morning. If you want to just give me a call in the morning, but yeah, I don't think that that's gonna be an
Okay,
issue.
I appreciate it.
I'm not aware of anywhere where it would be limited or something that I'm aware of, so.
I do appreciate your comments about finding contractors. You're absolutely right. All right, thank you.
Yep. Okay, now I will close the public hearing and comments, quick.
Mr. President.
Commissioner Riddle.
Sounds to me like there's a few things that could be looked at, hashed out a little bit, like that gentleman just mentioned about subcontractor, about possibly getting a little bit extra time for these folks. I would move to table it till the next meeting to see if we can get the answers on the subcontracting, possibly getting a little extra time for these folks to get something figured out.
Okay.
Mr. President, I would second that.
Okay.
So specifically, I think, if I'm understanding what you're asking, you'd like to see, for example, could we develop a form or something like that as far
Correct.
as, and what the criteria would be if people wanted to get their concrete sidewalk replaced by a private contractor, but it wasn't at the time, or it was behind the time of the contractor working on the city contract, and then subcontractor topic, I think that's an easy search
Correct.
tomorrow
Yep.
morning. So I can, is there anything else specifically that you
Nope.
wanted?
Nope, those two items, yep.
I would like to add to that, Josh. I like the idea that Mayor Decker came up with, possibly putting in the curb, but yet allowing the homeowner to afterwards go in and put in the sidewalk themselves. If that is a possibility.
Kind of what you were alluding to, too.
Basically, yeah.
Oh,
Yep,
okay,
yep, yep,
okay, then
yep.
we're on the same
Yep.
page.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any issues with that, Commissioner Perry?
No.
I think we'll be okay with a 2-week pause on this. Okay.
Yeah, that should be all right.
Okay. So we have a motion to table. Let me get back to the correct item here. We have the 2025 road improvement project, SID 2025-01-1. We have a motion to table by Commissioner Riddle. And to figure out the requirements for the subcontractor, possibility of putting the sidewalk in at a later date, and any other issues that were brought up by the general public this evening that Mr. Skolacek can address. Second is by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion, questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Riddle?
Aye.
Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries.
Mr. President, may I make a suggestion that we take a short recess prior
Sure.
to the next agenda item?
We can do that. Well, let's take a 5-minute break to the next public hearing. Okay, we'll go back into the regular session. The next public hearing is for the 2025 Road Improvement Project SID 202501-2. And this will be presented by Engineer and Community Development Director Skolacek.
Good evening, Mr. President, Commissioners. For your consideration is a resolution to determine the protest for the 2025 Road Maintenance Special Improvement District 2025-01-2. District was established at the September 17th, 2024 City Commission meeting with approval by this board of Resolution 39-2024. The protest period for the project, as required by North Dakota Century Code, ended on October 25th, 2024. The total number and overall percentage of the protests are provided below. The protests did not meet the statutory requirements to bar the city from proceeding with the special improvement district. This specific, sorry about that, this specific district is 5th Street Southwest from State Avenue over towards the Gress Complex. In this case, we received 3 total protests. Total percentage by area is 34% protested. Pursuant to North Dakota Century Code 4022-18, properties owned by political subdivisions are not included in the district area total. Therefore, the Gress Complex is not actually part of the overall area that's owned by the Park and Rec District. Let's see, total benefits within this project area: street, curb and gutter, and sidewalks are in need of repair. Several of the sidewalks are not ADA compliant. These improvements will ensure safe pedestrian walkability and access throughout the neighborhood. The street improvements will extend the life expectancy of the roadway and reduce the maintenance costs for the city. Total overall project for this area is expected to be, one second, about $381,000, and ultimately total assessments for this overall area of the project is $31,747.60 as per the engineering report that's attached in your packet. Property taxes associated with this assessment can be paid over a 10-year period at an interest rate of 5.4%, and those who pay their assessments in full by October 1st, 2026 will not be charged interest or penalties. And If this resolution is approved by the city commission, engineering staff will proceed with finalizing the plan specifications, and then the project will be put out for bid. Engineering staff recommends approval. Side note, did take a couple photos of the roadway in question, and then ultimately then did include the benefits for the district as I just read. So,
Mr. Skolacek, I think there's on the memorandum that you presented to us on this, there may be the estimated cost.
that's for the total project.
Okay.
That was for the total project specific to this area.
It's 300 and some thousand.
381,000.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Skolacek or staff? If there are no questions, I'll open up the public hearing. If there's any individuals that wish to come forward to speak to the Special Improvement District 202-501-2, please come forward, state your name. Anyone from the public? Anyone from the public have any concerns in this 2025 road improvement project? Seeing no one has any comments or concerns, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, do you have any additional questions on this project? If there are no questions, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Bear.
Second?
Second by Commissioner Frederick. Any further discussion, questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. Dr. Bear? Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. The next public hearing is for the 2025 Water Main Project, SID 202-503-1. Mr. Skolacek.
Good evening again, Mr. President and Commissioners. For your consideration is a resolution determining the protest for the 2025 Water Main and Lead Service Line Replacement Special Improvement District, number 2025-03-1. District is established at the September 17th, 2024 City Commission meeting with approval by this board of Resolution 40-2024. The protest period for the project, as required by North Dakota Century Code, ended on October 25th, 2024. Total number of overall percentages of the protests are shown below in the staff report, and those protests did not meet the statutory requirements to bar the city from proceeding with the special improvement project. We received a total of 6 protests. Total area within that was 5%. Project benefits related to the project for the streets, curb and gutter, and sidewalks. They're in need of repair. Several of the sidewalks are not ADA compliant. These improvements will ensure safe pedestrian walkability and accessibility throughout the neighborhood. Street improvements will extend the life expectancy of the roadway and will reduce maintenance costs for the city. The water mains are currently 6-inch cast iron mains. These mains are our most frequent material to break, and the mains are often corroded, filled with mineral deposits, and they cause sometimes some color or ultimately have some lack of sufficient flows from a fire flow requirement standpoint. There's multiple lead service lines within this area that will be replaced, as well as the water mains, and these will be replaced all the way from the water main into the meter in each building or home. And that portion of the project is to be paid 100% by the city of Dickinson. The lead service line replacements are something that will ensure safe drinking water. Total project construction cost estimate is $4.69 million, and this will be funded through a combination of this proposed special assessment, a possible state water commission grant, and then a state revolving fund loan, and then also city funds city assessment estimate for this project is $911,242.60 as per the engineering report provided in your packet. The assessment amount will be included on the property taxes and paid over a 10-year period at the interest rate of 5.4%. Those who pay their assessments in full by October 1st, 2026 will not be charged any interest or payment. If this resolution is approved by the City Commission, engineering staff will proceed and finalize the project plans and specifications, and the project will be put out to bid. Engineering staff recommends approval. I did also include a number of the project benefits within the area. That's actually a photo on the bottom right corner of the slide. That's a photo from our 2024 water main project. As you can see inside of the pipe, there's significant buildup of mineral deposits and then some corrosion. And so that's a 6-inch pipe, significant restriction in overall flow capabilities. So.
Thank you, Mr. Skolacek. Any questions for Mr. Skolacek or city staff on this water main replacement? There are no questions. I will open up a public hearing. If any individuals from the public wishes to come forward, please state your name, let us know your concerns, or if you have any questions.
Shane Bennett, 1312 First Street West. I understand the curb and gutter bad. Only a couple spots in the sidewalk that are bad. They're going up my driveway. I don't think it's necessary, but he says it's the right of way. I understand the water needs to be done. That's great. But it's way overpriced. I can get my own contractor, but you guys say I can't. But you let the other people do their contract. I mean, I can get it for half the price.
They're allowed.
15.7 is what you want from mine.
I think they're allowed to also, aren't they?
In this case, because the water main is ultimately in the area, we're advising that they not ultimately perform that work, in particular where the curb stops are or where it may impact part of what's removed associated with the water main, if the curb and gutter and or sidewalk need to be removed with the main. So that we're advising that they ultimately hold off, and we identify exactly where the water main is located. If it meanders or something like that, it may impact some of the sidewalk or curb and gutter. So
Yeah, and that's another thing, I didn't put that water in back in the day. So you're saying it's under my sidewalk, so I'm paying for it when it caves in, because there's only a couple places that actually need to be replaced. So I'm paying for something the city did back in the day. And it's only 50 feet of sidewalk. But then you want to go up, because you have the right-of-way, up my driveway, another 10 to 15 feet. About 15 feet, I think it is. So it's 15 by 10. And I was going to do the whole driveway eventually next year. But you're going up my driveway for no reason. It's not even in the water main. I don't. And you're doing it to, not my house, you're doing it to the house next to me, and the house next to me there, and another one. And we're all on the north side.
I'm
The
looking.
south side, my neighbor, he's only paying $5,000. They're only doing a little section of his. I mean, I don't get it. But I understand the water need. I don't want that. I understand that.
And what, again, the issue with him doing his own driveway?
depending upon the exact location of the water main, if the water main would be further north than what we anticipate, it could impact our excavation area. So that's the concern.
Again, could that be something to be allowed if, once we've determined where the water main is, that he could replace his driveway? Or all those people along there, that if it's necessary?
That could be something that we could look into. The concern would be the duration that something would be exposed. That would definitely be
I'm
a
not gonna
concern.
be able to use my driveway anyways, because you guys are gonna be there, so I'll be in the backyard, obviously. But I didn't even think you had to have a contractor to do your driveway. You don't. Sidewalk, curb and gutter, approach, I understand. You have to have an insured, bonded person with the city.
You know, about on the, I mean, how far?
Sure why they're going up, I guess I don't know there's no map of this house, so I mean, are they replacing, is it a wider right of way there? Is that why they're going up farther?
Yeah,
or-
it's a wide right of way, but it's ultimately, the circumstances are a worst case, I guess, is what we're ultimately showing in the engineering report. So yeah, it is a wide right of way through that area,
So we haven't determined where that line is?
Yeah, we believe that we know where the line is, but sometimes it can meander once it's in the ground. As you're digging, it may meander further to the north or something like that. So again, it's a worst case. So.
That was probably put in 60, 70, 80 years ago, or 60 years ago, so, I mean, it was
Yeah,
a
I
little,
see
little
what they
different
want.
technology back then than there is now, but so. I mean, can't we just do his approach, his curb, gutter, and leave his, I mean, if we got a saw, cut it off or whatever?
Yeah, again, what we're showing is worst case, and ultimately we'll do as little as needed, I guess. But because of the circumstances, we wanted to make sure that we presented a worst case. But then the other attribute is, if it's within the excavation area, we do have this project on the water development plan with the Department of Water Resources, so we anticipate the grant similar to what we received in the 2024 project that we just concluded. In that case, if I recall correctly, I think there was approximately a 42% reduction in what we ultimately special assessed. So we do anticipate this being a cost reduction versus what's currently presented.
Have you spoke to Josh?
I did just a little bit ago over here, but I might have on the phone, I'm not sure. But
Would you reach out to him and,
Huh?
would you reach out to him and, well, I'm sure we can work through some of these situations here, so.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I can get a contractor, he already told me, he did my stamped concrete in the back.
Sure.
He's helped me on some others, only a couple grand, but he'll do it for half that price. I mean, he already told me, I mean, it don't make sense, I mean, and I work for Dickinson Ready Mix anyway, so I can get the concrete cheaper. So.
I understand, but
And
We don't put it in.
because you're going to pick your time to do it.
Yeah.
But I can pay for the concrete myself. I mean, I just think it's overpriced. And going up my driveway is, I know it's a right of way, I guess, what you're saying, but you don't need a contractor to do that.
Technically, if it's within the right of way, that we do ask that a permit be issued for that work within the right of way, so.
I'm just doing an overhead looking at your neighborhood.
I just thought it was a little high. I mean, you paid 20 grand, you did a whole corner. I'm only going 50 feet. Not a lot different.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and I can see like your neighbors too, their driveways definitely need to be replaced from the overhead.
Well, theirs is bad.
Yeah.
My neighbor next to me, yeah, their approach is shot,
Yeah.
but mine isn't.
All right, again, this is a Google map, so I mean, it's not.
Well, look at it. It's perfect. There's,
But
like
you
I said,
understand once-
where the water is,
Yep.
it's heaved up a little bit. It's cracked. I actually put some concrete around that water at one time. And I got one crack on the other side. The rest of it's fine. You go to Second Street, where I know a guy, and the concrete's heaved up that high, and he's told you guys several times, people tripped over it and broke their ankles, and you guys haven't done nothing to it, because they got a set of tree lines there, and the roots bring the tree up, the concrete up, but you guys haven't replaced that.
I guess my advice would be to come in and work with the engineering department, and so we can come to some kind of resolution. And hopefully you can come to something, and then if not, you can come back to us.
So you got a card or something I can?
He's got one. And again, if, with the grant that's presented, most of the costs on these water replacements have been reduced. The costs have been reduced because we get reimbursed from the state, and then we don't charge that special assessment. That amount, minus. What'd you say, 42%?
I believe that was the estimated amount, was a 42% reduction from
And I
from
know
this
the
year's.
road, there's nothing wrong with the road really. You're gonna have to mill and overlay because you're digging it all up, but that road isn't that bad.
The water line, we don't want to go down the whole Michigan. We're taking care of our water lines when we can.
Or we're required to have them out.
Yeah.
All the lead of water lines by a certain date, so.
Yeah, and the challenge is the amount of cuts, and this was what was discussed for the 2024 water main project, was the amount of cuts that are ultimately going to occur for the service lines. You're going to have such a frequency of cuts going across the road, let alone then the trench for the main, and that'll cause.
Are you leaving the shut off right in the sidewalk, or are you moving it into the grass?
The shutoffs will be individually in the sidewalk. That makes things a lot easier from the perspective of operations, so Public Works staff can get to that in a much easier way.
You're leaving them in the sidewalk.
Yep. They can find them a lot easier. That's shoveled in the winter.
Now you're
those
gonna
kind
make
of
them
things.
heave up again down the road?
No, that
And then
shouldn't.
have to replace it again?
No, we're specifically looking actually at a sleeve option around that curb stop so that it can be adjustable. So that's something that we are looking at.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's all I got to say.
All right, thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. President, Commissioners, my name is Dan Roller. I'm here representing my mother, Hilda Lamprecht, who lives at 1242 First Street. 82-year-old woman. Been widowed twice from cancer, so she's lost one house. And these taxes and specials are not going to be easy for her. She will find a way, I'm sure. Mr. Schneider had reference to me on October 25th that there was a possibility of this Water Commission grant, which we're hoping you guys can get. He referenced, I believe it was like 60% maybe. Is it 10 feet on either side of the water line, or is it 10 feet total, 5 foot either side?
10 feet total, so 5 feet on each side.
Okay. If she is not against the improvement of the water main, she understands that. She wants good water. I used to work in the water industry, and I know the good quality water is of importance to us all. The specials, I'm assuming, consist of just curb, gutter, sidewalk, and driveway again?
That's correct.
The difference in the specials, I got the listing from, I believe probably it was you. Scott actually emailed them to me, probably with okay from the city. The difference in the specials from the north side to the south side is $225,000 difference of what the north side has to pay versus the south side. The north side has to replace all their curb. This water line benefits both the north and the south side of the street, am I not correct?
So ultimately, the water main benefits the entirety of the street, but it's specifically the sidewalk, curb, driveways, those kind of things
But
for each
the
individual property owner.
Property owners on the south side also get water off this water main. It is my opinion, they should share in the cost of replacing that curb. You are tearing out the entire curb on the entire north side of the street, but only the north side is being specialized for that curb. And you're tearing out their entire sidewalks, driveway approaches. On the south side, you're only taking pieces of bad section of sidewalk. I know my mom's got 3 sections of sidewalk that are settled, I believe it's probably from the sewer line coming into her house. Yes, we agree that probably needed to be lifted, raised. She should be assessed that. There's probably a portion of curb that's bad. She could be assessed that. But anything outside of that, I think, should be brought about, hopefully, in this water commission. But I think the cost of that curb should be shared by both sides of the street. It's not the north side's fault. The water line ended up, the water mark next to that curb is only like 2 or 3 feet from the curb, so I understand you can't dig 8 feet deep without falling in. So the other concern we had was, I know some people that live in that Charbonneau, that old Hagen School District area, that were in a project last year. They didn't get assessed any special assessments. The project this year, I know somebody that lives over there again, who's assessed assessments. We know people on Sim Street, which was done this year, they don't have any special assessments. How is it determined some get assessed and some do not?
Specifically for Sims, that is classified with the Federal Highway Administration as a collector route, so that has historically not been special assessed. The water main project for 2024 did have special assessments. The project for 2023, at the time when that was moved forward, there was no special assessment, but no additional concrete removal or replacement. It just the lead service lines were replaced and the main and those kind of things.
Well, I do know somebody in 2023 that says she's had sidewalk replaced that she did not pay such special assessments. That's, it just, and now this year, there's another gentleman I know that lives in that same area, he's assessed specials. So, I know people that have had to refinance their homes. They can't afford these special assessments. They have to refinance, if they can refinance. And at today's rate, that financing at 6, 7, 8%, I mean, they can't afford to not refinance because they can't afford their taxes or paying the specials. So at 5% interest. So this project has a mill and overlay in it. In 1 or 2 years, are you going to chip seal the street? And then where do those costs go?
Historically, the chip seals have been 100% paid for by the city in recent years. So that's what I anticipate to be the plan going forward. So,
But if the city don't pay for it, then the homeowners are assessed that cost again?
I don't believe we've assessed a chip seal in, since I've been on the commission, for sure.
Okay. Okay, that's all the comments I had. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wish to speak to 2025-03-1? Anyone else? Close the public hearing. Commissioners, do you have any further questions for city staff on the 25 water main project? Mr. Skolacek, when will we know about the grant?
Working on getting our application in right now, and then ultimately be probably, I would anticipate most likely first quarter of 2025. We will find out on that. So.
And to Mr. Roller's point, the water main, is it right next to the sidewalk?
Yeah, as you go further down, just a little, actually it gets closer, or we anticipate it to be closer to the curb and sidewalk as you go further to the west from that gentleman's property. As you go further to the east, it gets further away. So ultimately, we anticipate there to be to be less taken, but it was a worst case in case something is not what we're showing on our plans and not, you know, if there's a deviation between gate valves, you can't just necessarily snap a line gate valve to gate valve and think that it's perfectly straight, so may not be the case.
I guess what, you know, because of, I'm just trying to think of ideas here because ultimately, you know, the sidewalk is being replaced because due to this project and what we can look at to help offset some of the costs.
I guess the way that, as we worked through the engineering report and those kind of things, I mean, the fact of the matter, we have high probability of getting the grant. We have it on the water development plan. And so ultimately we viewed it, that's a property benefit to each of these properties to get replacements and those kind of things at partial funding by the state funding. And so so that was part of our perspective, I guess, as we were putting this together.
Okay. Commissioners, any comments or questions?
Mr. President,
Commissioner Bear?
can we, the gentleman from Ready Mix, where he wants to do his own driveway, I mean, can we somehow make it so?
Well, I think they're gonna look at that, you know.
I mean, would that also go for his neighbors too? That same type of situation?
Yeah, as I had said before, we're only going to do what we absolutely have to with the project. If it's not necessary, we wouldn't necessarily take out that concrete and stuff like that. So that'd be something as we work through the construction and everything else, you know, we'll do what we can to minimize the impacts, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess how pressing is this if we would table this item to have a little bit further discussion over the next 2 weeks? Does this affect the grant any if we would?
No, I don't think it would impact.
I would just like to, I guess, come in and explain, you know, just explore some different options, you know, that we may have.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think it necessarily cause any overall project delays or anything like that. We'll keep plugging ahead on the overall project plans and specifications during that time. But is there a specific?
I guess I'm just with the sidewalk. I'm just I want a little more clarification. I mean, it's by doing this project, we're basically removing their sidewalk, or have the potential to remove their sidewalk. And are we figuring into this project how much of their sidewalk that would not need to be replaced if we weren't doing this? Let's just say, now I'm getting a no over there from Mr. Apex himself. So that's my conundrum here is, if we were just doing the road, right? No water main, no nothing else. We were just in here just like the other road projects, and we sent Apex in there and they said, okay, these are the exact squares that need, our linear feet that need to be replaced, right? Are we taking into consideration that exact example of, right now we're just figuring in the whole sidewalk, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm thinking to myself, if there's sections that need to be replaced, that's explainable, but there may be sections that don't need to be replaced. And if we weren't doing this project, we'd only be assessing them for the sections that need to be replaced.
Yeah, again, when we were looking at this, I guess from the perspective of the high probability or anticipation of the grant, that there's the benefit in return, new concrete and those kind of things. So, but
Mr. President,
Commissioner Bear.
I move to table this until our next commission meeting.
We have a motion to table by Commissioner Bear.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Frederick. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Commissioner Bear.
Aye.
Commissioner Frederick.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. We'll move into public comments not on the agenda. Anyone wishes to come forward, please state your name. Bring up your concerns or comments for the City Commission. Anyone from the public? Anyone from the public have any comments or questions for the City Commission? There's somebody on there. Can you see?
I don't see any. I don't see anybody, no.
Nothing written underneath there that you can see? It looks like somebody's trying to talk, but
Hello?
is there somebody talking?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Is there somebody online?
Control room, could you turn the online
Yes.
louder? Hello, if you're online, could you please speak?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Or we can kind of hear you, but please speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Can you
you.
hear me? Hi, this is Seth Helgeson calling. And Mayor Decker, you were talking a lot about following and obeying the North Dakota state laws, which would include century codes. Would that include North Dakota Century Code 40-05.1-05?
What would that pertain to,
yes or
Mr.
no.
Helgeson?
That's just a yes or no question. Can you please answer that?
I don't know what that, I'd have to look it up.
Okay. Okay, it's, ratification by majority vote, suppression of existing charter and state laws in conflict therewith. If a majority of the qualified voters voting on the charter at the election vote in favor of the home rule charter, the charter is ratified and is the organic law of the city, and it extends to all its local and city matters. The charter and ordinances made pursuant to the charter in such matters supersedes within the territory limits and other jurisdiction of the city and law of the state in conflict with the charter and ordinances and must be liberally construed for such purposes. So would that mean you would have to follow that North Dakota Century Code?
I guess I'm having a hard time hearing you, but
That's yes or no, please.
I couldn't understand what you actually read, Mr. Helgeson. Like, we can barely hear you.
Am I cutting in and out?
Yes.
Let me try to call back.
Can we get somebody in the control room to turn that up a little bit so we can hear it? Mr. Helgeson, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Again, we can barely hear you. It sounds like you're coming through a car phone, but we can barely hear you.
Oh, I'm on my phone. Okay. You can barely hear me at all?
It's better now.
Okay, I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, you talked a lot about codes and stuff like that, and obeying the North Dakota Century Code state laws. Would that follow North Dakota Century Code 40-05.1-05? Would that include that?
The
That would be a yes or
ratification
no
by
answer.
majority vote, the supersession of existing charter and state laws in conflict thereof, filing copies of a new charter.
Correct. Would that, you would have to obey that, correct? If you want to talk about all these other codes that you want to obey. I mean, I'm just trying to get an understanding on what you guys have to obey.
Well, I'm not a constitutional or North Dakota Century Code authority, but I'm going to follow what the Attorney General passed down to us today.
So you don't have to follow North Dakota Century Code 40-05.1-05. Is that what you're saying?
I did not say that. I'm saying what the...
Now we have a conflict.
Mr. Helgeson, this is City Attorney Christina Winkle. If we're going to talk about specific regulations within the Century Code, I would ask you to look at the same subsection 40-05.01.6. That is precisely the Century Code citation that the Attorney General has relied on in determining that the Home Rule Charter cities do not have the authority to proceed with recalling their elected officials. This issue has been settled, it's been resolved, and as far as the city is concerned moving forward, it is the Century Code. The city has made that extremely clear from the get-go. This issue is, again, as far as the city is concerned, is moot. We are moving forward under the understanding based on the information provided to us by the Attorney General's office. It's 25%, and we are following the Century Code.
I don't understand what you said. My question was to the mayor. So you talked about a bunch of Century Codes. So would you not have to obey that? That's a yes or no answer. Please give me an answer.
We are obeying the Century Code as the decision has been passed down by the Attorney General.
That's not what I asked, but thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners. Have a good night.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone who wishes to come forward? Okay, we'll close the public hearing section for this evening. We will go back in. We have a report coming up. And this will be a EMS report, and I'm probably going to massacre your name, Chief, Division Chief. Let me get it. Kintoff?
Hey, that's pretty good.
Okay.
They
How
were
is
taking
it?
bets in the back, whether you get it right or wrong. So.
Okay, how is it then?
Kintoff is correct.
Kintoff?
Yep.
Okay. I just know on names like that, I just leave out all the extra vowels and the consonants. And
Not a problem. President Decker and members of the commission, thank you. I just want to give you a brief update on things all EMS related. Chief Presnell gave you the updates in regarding to ambulances and those types of things, so we'll skip over that. Want to talk a little bit about personnel. We did post our EMS educator position, and we did hire that, and we've hired Sarah Rohde. She has a significant background in respiratory therapy. She's an advanced EMT, has experience in EMS education, as well as an educator for the Career Tech Academy. Firefighter EMTs, we had over 25 applicants. We've sent out six offers, and 6 people have accepted. That fulfills all of those available positions at this time. Paramedics, we've currently had 9 applicants. 4 have been offered and accepted. 2 we're making 2 additional offers within this week, and then that leaves us 3 to 5 positions vacant, depending on those 2 additional offers that are pending. Equipment, we've been collaborating with Dickinson Area Ambulance just to get an idea of what they have as far as equipment for current inventory. looking at age, maintenance history, and building a long-term plan for equipment replacement, which we'll present to this commission at a later date. We're currently vetting other grant options that would coincide with this plan as well. And then finally, I wanted to visit a little bit about ALS licensure. So ALS licensure, if it comes from the Department of Health and Human Services, and this would actually grant us the authority to operate as an ALS ambulance in Dickinson and Stark County. This application's been submitted and been working with the EMS unit through the Department of Health and Human Services closely. We've provided several areas of clarification, and we're awaiting official licensure to be issued with an effective date of July 1st, and we hope to hear from them within the next 5 to 7 days. So we should know that very quickly, but we don't foresee any issues or obstacles to obtaining that license. I would now entertain any questions that you or the commission may have.
So everything sounds like it's moving forward at a very quick pace, but at a good pace. To Commissioner Frederick's question, with us buying the diesels, the two new ones, and in your experience, have you worked with the diesel undercarriage before? They tend to run longer, or?
Yeah, I mean, so there's two ways to look at it. The diesel will last longer, especially for over-the-road trips, which we will be using them in some capacity, especially as they'll be lower miles than the ones we will be putting into commission that we're purchasing from Dickinson Ambulance. So once we receive those, we'll move those around and make sure that's appropriate. As far as length, I mean, I think 3 years is a very conservative. We may be able to make those last longer depending on current mileage at the time. Looking at our other replacement plan for those other two ambulances, which mileage is going to be a consideration for us at that point as well.
Yeah, I knew what we were getting probably has a couple of them are long in the tooth already, so.
Yeah, so doing our best to be mindful of our current budget, but definitely want to make sure we present you at the worst case scenario to begin with, and then if we can make them last longer, obviously we would. But
all right. Commissioners, any other questions? All right. Well, thank you for waiting patiently.
Thank you all.
Yep. We'll move into community development. We have a CMAR contract for the Library Museum and the Baylor Building. This will be presented by Senior Engineer Keller.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. For your consideration is a master service agreement contract to perform construction management at-risk services for the library, museum, and Baylor Building expansions. The current CMAR, J. Dunn, will perform the pre-construction activities at no cost to the city. When each project design team generates construction documents, J. Dunn will generate their bid and generate a guaranteed maximum price, at which point we will come back for a work order for each individual project. So the reason why I want to do this is it keeps each project independent during the design and construction phases for cost accounting and warranty. The city attorney has reviewed the contract, and the city engineering staff recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Any questions for Mr. Keller on the CMAR contract? If there are no questions, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. President, move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner Frederick, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Dr. Bear? Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Mr. Keller, you have the State Avenue Bridge erosion repairs bid.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, for your consideration is a construction contract to perform repairs on the State Avenue Bridge spanning the Hart River. The bidder for this project is BEK Consulting. This project includes adding riprap, salvage and placement of additional grade 3 riprap, geofabric, and a concrete end section installation. This contract is for materials and services for $164,469 on a lump sum basis. And this project is in the 24 budget, and the revenue is from the gross production tax. The city attorney has reviewed the contract and the city engineering staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Any questions for Mr. Keller on the State Avenue Bridge erosion repairs? Hearing none, I'd look for a motion. Motion to approve by Commissioner Bear,
Second?
second by Commissioner Frederick. Are there any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. Dr. Bear, Mr. Frederick.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a 10th Avenue East contract amendment to the SRF Consulting. Mr. Skolacek.
Good evening, Mr. President and Commissioners. For your consideration is a contract amendment with SRF Consulting Group Incorporated to perform engineering services for the 10th Avenue East from Museum Drive to 21st Street East project on a cost plus fixed fee not to exceed amount as specified in the contract, which is $13,534.26. Original contract was approved by the City Commission on March 19th, 2024, and City Attorney has reviewed the contract with no comments. Project was approved with the 2024 Capital Improvement Projects budget paid with gross production tax, or GPT. Included with this scope of work are the following tasks: traffic operations report to meet all Federal Highway Administration requirements and make it eligible for federal aid. As we worked through this project, we ultimately looked back historically to see if there was a traffic operations report that was ever prepared for this roadway section. That was actually not ever found. We were unsuccessful in finding anything historical. We believe there was never anything prepared. Therefore, that's why this contract amendment is proposed. Engineering staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. Skolacek. Any questions? If there are none, I look for a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Frederick. Second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Not hearing any further discussion, we'll vote. Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Dr. Bear? Chair votes aye. Motion carries. And your item coming up, we have Code Enforcement Officer Stewart, and she has a demolition of buildings. Ms. Stewart?
Good evening, Commission. Code Enforcement Officer Tiffany Stewart here. To be clear, this is just to set a hearing date to hear the full cases on the following properties, so I will just be giving very basic information at this time. We have 3 properties that are up for the demolition. 348 East Broadway. They did receive a stop work order. They did not have the required permits to be doing the work they were completing. Due to that, as well as a lack of water utilities, structural concerns, and the property being abandoned, the Building and Codes Department does recommend that we move forward with the hearing. 119 7th Avenue West was labeled as dangerous due to dilapidation, unsafe living conditions. The lead service line was not replaced due to some concerns from the contractor. Based on those facts, we recommend moving forward with this one. And lastly on this list is 219 5th Street East. This property has not had water utilities since 2018. We have outstanding code violations going back to 2001. Based on the lack of utilities, dilapidation, outstanding code violations, and unsafe living conditions, we do recommend we move forward with this one as well. So with that, we were just asking for you to take a look at your schedules on when we can fit these hearings in.
What is the notification time that, proper notification time for these property owners? How many days do they have to have?
Mr. President, I can answer that. What I would like to do for the commission, because we do need to make sure that we give proper notice, that we can get these individuals notified and proper service. So I would like to look at the second week of December, what would be available. If not the second week, the third week. I don't anticipate any issues with service in these particular situations, but I do want to make sure that we have an allotted amount of time to make, just in case we are having trouble locating any individuals.
So you're thinking possibly a third week, like the 17th, can we have the hearing prior to the commission meeting?
We can. It's going to depend on, if we have 3 contested hearings. If you gentlemen want to sit there for that, that's going to be a long day.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I'm up. What fits in your schedule? I'm more open than you guys are. So I can adjust mine more easily. Would the second week would be appropriate? It would be enough time?
We could make that work if that worked for you guys.
Okay.
Okay, then the third week would be best.
Okay. So I'm trying to refresh my memory. Did we have the last one of these? Did we have it in the morning or in the afternoon? Or the evening?
I don't recall. We did do one where we had 3 of them back to back to back, and I think we started maybe mid-morning on that, if I remember correctly, but I think that one segued into
The
a
afternoon.
meeting, so.
Yes, we've had one in the early morning and then one prior to a commission meeting.
Well, I mean, the third week, the 19th, we have a work session.
Okay.
20th, I have something at 8, but I could be done after.
Well, I was thinking the 18th at 1, if that.
We also have city commission that week.
Yeah, I know. It's a load. That's why you get paid the big bucks.
We're just gonna do one?
No, I want to do all 3. So what I would anticipate, probably a couple hours allotted for each of them. If they run over, they run over. But I'd like to start in the morning just to make sure that we can get them completed, and hopefully we don't go till 5 o'clock. But we were able to get them done. The last time we did 3 of them, we were able to get them done within a decent amount of time, so.
Yeah, I can make the 18th work, I guess.
We're setting the schedule for the other 2, so the 18th. So you guys figure out what time and then let us know what would work for you between,
Yeah, I would just
You and-
plan to be available all day.
Okay.
And we'll try to get it accomplished as quickly as we can.
Okay. Do we need a motion to set that, or are we good just?
I think for the purposes of this, we're just fine with your
Okay. All right. So
comments.
that works, your
Yes.
schedule? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. 18th?
Wednesday, December 18th.
All right, commissioners, we're down to our time. You have anything you wish to bring forward?
Mr. President,
Commissioner Bear?
it was brought to my attention today, and I'm not looked into this, so I'm just throwing this out. I was told that our commission meetings are not being shown on Channel 19. Does anybody know if they are? Or
I can tell you that they are, because I get a couple comments on, and it's being shown today, because I did get a couple comments from some people asking questions on what we were talking about when it came to the 2025 water main and the road.
Okay.
So I know it was being shown today.
Okay, is it being replayed throughout the week then, too?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Because we see it on our monitors here in the city hall, too.
Plus,
Okay.
plus it's on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, this individual doesn't do YouTube, so they asked
I don't have channel
about it.
19, so.
Okay, so it is on. Okay, I will get back to them. Thank you.
Anything else? Nope. All right, I look for a motion to adjourn.
So move. Second.